everyone got their wet weather covers? I'm feeling a few drops of rain.
Good afternoon and welcome to round 3 feature hole coverage of the AV Jennings New South Wales Open Championship. That man you just saw in your picture leading the way after 2 rounds, 2 excellent rounds of that, Andrew Dote from Queensland, 14 under par. David Micheluzzi there, the rookie professional from Victoria. He reached number 2 in the world as an amateur before turning professional. Min Woo Lee, he was no slouch as an amateur as well. He's trying to follow in the footsteps of his sister Min Ji Lee. Brett Rumford, what a career he has had. Jack Wilson, the colourful Victorian. Andrew Dote, he's a proven winner on the European Tour and the Asian Tour. Rian Gibson, he's made the long journey here to Twin Creeks this week from Sea Island, Georgia, after competing on the PGA Tour. He was in contention last week after a couple of rounds, but good to see him back home competing. Josh Younger, look at this chip. No wonder he was the round 1 leader, 9 under par, 63 in tough conditions. Brodie Martin, the 23-year-old from WA. He's in contention, as too is this man, Travis Smythe with the man bun. 10 under par after 2 rounds. Brett Rumford, 6 European Tour wins. And Nathan Barbieri, the runner-up this year at the Australian Amateur Championship. Nick Flanagan there, former US Amateur Champion. Here's our current leaderboard. Andrew Dote, I mentioned, 14 under par after 2 rounds. That round of 61 yesterday. Incredible scoring here at Twin Creeks Golf Club. Min Woo Lee, Josh Younger there in the top 3. Justin Warren, Travis Smythe rounding out the top 5. All within 4 shots of the lead. All those players really on the first page of the leaderboard, in with a chance of hoisting the trophy here, and really has a rich history, this New South Wales Open Championship. An illustrious list of champions, names the calibre of Greg Norman have won this great championship. Hi there, I'm Ewan Porter. I'm joined alongside James Grierson, a PGA Tour of Australasia and PGA Tour of China member, and just taking a look at that leaderboard, James, there really are so many good stories brewing here.
Yeah, a lot of young guys as well, so it'd be great to see them step it up and have a chance of winning this weekend.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things we're seeing, particularly in the last 3 or 4 years here on the PGA Tour of Australasia, is a lot of amateurs and a lot of young guys competing with the top professionals, guys the likes of Brett Rumford and Peter Lonard and Peter O'Malley, players who have such a great resume, so to speak, and all these young players certainly capable of putting their names on the trophy. Well, over the first couple of days, the weather conditions here have been very hot and dry out here at Twin Creeks. Pretty windy both afternoons. That's the first hole that you're going to see in the feature hole coverage there, the 17th, the par 3. A beautiful par 3 it is, water on the left-hand side. Today it's a little more overcast, perhaps a little more conducive to good scoring out here at Twin Creeks Golf and Country Club. Only light breezes, 12 kilometres per hour. Chance of a thunderstorm this afternoon, but I think we're going to be fine. I don't think we're going to see any of that electricity. Well, our second round leader, Andrew Dote from Queensland, a 61 yesterday to be 14 under par, and he was kind enough to have a few words to us after round 2.
That's my best round in my career so far. I obviously knew the conditions were going to be very user-friendly, so I wanted to take real advantage of that and got off to a pretty good start, and then sort of got hot around the turn and made a few birdies, an eagle at 11, and then I started getting a bit nervy because I thought I'm getting pretty low here, and I thought I had to make 2 coming in, and because I didn't really know what I was. And yeah, I needed 2, but didn't really give myself great chances on the last 3 holes. But all in all, great day's working. When you're in the zone, it doesn't change too much. You just select the shot, see it, hit it, and there's nothing more to it. And when you're in that zone, it's a really nice place to be in. And fortunately, I was in it for most of the day.
What did you do particularly well, do you feel? What's the key to being so?
Shoot 61, you've got a whole putt. Having said that, I hit it pretty close. I gave myself a lot of chances and capitalised. Been playing for 12 years now on the professional circuit, so a bit more experience. Know what works, know what doesn't, know my strengths, and you just sort of, when you work that out, it becomes a lot easier. When you haven't worked it out, you're still guessing that you try this, you try that. But you
fight with yourself, don't you?
Yeah, and that's the last thing you want to do. I just got a really good understanding how I work and what makes me tick, and probably the last 12 months have been pretty solid. I checked the scoring from the last 2 years, and I mean, I know you've got to be 20 under to win. So that was the goal at the start of the week. I've got to be at least there. But, I mean, these guys in Australia, they're good. They're good players. So you've got to keep the foot down because they're going to be right behind you.
Well, what a couple of rounds from Andrew Dote. This man, Peter Lonard, he's a 2-time President's Cup player. Wow, what a putt on the 18th hole. That was for par. He was in the front bunker for 2, and that is an incredible up and down, playing alongside Ruben Sondaja. And the big man in your picture there, the longest hitter on the PGA Tour of Australasia, Lincoln Tai. Been a fun trio to watch out there today. Peter Lonard, what a career he has had. 2 President's Cups. He's a winner on the US PGA Tour at the RBC Heritage back in 2005. Phil Hodge, a former golf professional, on his bag there. Peter Lonard, not the only President's Cup player here this week. Mark Hensby, he also played in the International President's Cup team back in 2005, and he's around for the weekend. Twin Creeks Golf and Country Club. It really has been in pristine condition over the first couple of days. Well, the 17th and 18th holes, they're the 2 feature holes in our coverage here at the AV Jennings New South Wales Open Championship. And earlier in the day, myself and James Grierson took a more in-depth look at the par 3 17th. 2 feature holes here on the weekend at the AV Jennings New South Wales Open Championship is the par 3 17th at Twin Creeks Golf and Country Club. Today it measures 159 metres, and over the first 2 days, James, we saw 36 birdies on this hole, but we also saw 52 bogeys and 5 double bogeys. However, today there could be a little more feast than famine.
Yeah, Ewan, today the flag's 16 on 3 from the left, and with the slope being 5 metres from the right, you can see a lot of the guys hitting a draw in with the wind off the right with only an 8 on. There should be a lot of close shots.
Think we could see a 1?
Yeah, definitely think so.
Well, you heard it from the expert, James Grierson, but one thing is guaranteed. There'll be plenty of excitement, perhaps a little drama from our leaders this afternoon. This is the 18th, the difficult par 4. Victorian Peter Wilson on the tee. Driver in hand. Risky play, James.
Yeah, he's got to take it up the left-hand side. Looks like it could be leaning a little right.
Oh, well, that is very fortunate. There's so much sand here, isn't there, at Twin Creeks?
Would not be an easy bunker shot, but with the fur greens here, it could be quite a tough second shot as well.
Well, Peter Wilson's playing alongside Darren Beck. This man in your picture, he won the WA PGA Championship last month at Kalgoorlie Golf Club in one of the most incredible final rounds. He shot the highest front 9 score of the day, round 4. But then he shot the lowest back 9 score of the day. Came home in 30 strokes. Only had 8 putts the back 9 for his 3rd win.
Hold some serious feet of putts coming home, and that's when you want to do it, when it really counts.
Well, you can see he's taken the 3-wood from the tee, trying to turn it over. Wow. Both of those players extremely fortunate to avoid the sand.
The last player in the group.
Yeah, Daniel Nisbet, the 3rd member of this group. Daniel was 3rd on the PGA Tour of Australasia money list last year. He's had 3 wins in the last 18 months, including earlier this year at the Queensland PGA Championship, and he's got driver out. Certainly not leaving anything behind. More aggressive line down the left-hand side. That one is absolutely perfect.
Should be a great angle in from that side of the fairway.
You see there, not too much breeze today. That wind was really up Thursday afternoon and Friday afternoon. It made scoring rather difficult for the afternoon players. That trio there, all proven winners here in Australia.
Daniel's really got hot the last 18 months. When he won in Toowoomba, he won by quite a few as well, so he went very deep that week. So yeah, when he gets it going, it gets very, very low.
Yeah, he has the ability to go low. Not sure about the phone out there. I don't know if he's... You know, I know what he's doing. He's watching the live streaming of the New South Wales Open Championship. He loves seeing himself on there.
With a local caddy. He'll be absolutely loving it this week.
Yeah, that's good to see.
Very happy not to have to carry that bag as well.
You ever do caddying when you were younger?
No, I think I was too nervous. I carried the leaderboard for Nitties in the Aussie Open, and I think I was so scared to shake his hand that I dropped the leaderboard.
Wow. Look at the move Justin Warren
Little
has
rock.
made.
Arkansas.
6 under par for the round. He's currently tied with Minwoo Lee at 15 under par. Andrew Dote, where he started the day at 14 under par. And as you can see by that leaderboard there, James, even par for the day, you're losing ground.
Definitely. Dougie Klein, 65 this morning. Loves this venue. Tie 60 last year. Can get the birdies going around here. 14 under for the week.
Jake Higginbottom, back in 2012, he won the New Zealand Open as an amateur. 19 years old he was. He was the first amateur in over 50 years to win that championship. Still only 26 years of age. He's been playing in Asia the last couple of years. It's
Josh Younger hanging in. Not a bad spot to be. Like 1 under early in the third round. There's still a lot of golf to go.
Yeah, I'd say anything really on that first page of the leaderboard, you've still got a very, very good chance of capturing this New South Wales Open Championship.
Nick Folk on there as well. Won 3 times in 5 starts, I think it was last year. China.
That's right.
Got straight to Webb from there, so very handy.
Playing on a Corn Ferry Tour this year. Darren Beck, back in 2008, he was the Queensland PGA champion. The following year, he won the Brunei Open on the Asian Tour, and then it was a long dry spell for the New South Welshman, but certainly one of the more popular victories when he won in Kalgoorlie last month.
Yeah, there wouldn't have been too many people that weren't happy, unless you come second, then you're always a little bit, but I think he was, yeah, all the guys are very happy for him to get the win up there. Had been a long time coming, and he works really, really hard.
Well, you can see there just how close Peter Wilson came to finding the sand off the tee, and such a huge difference between being able to play the second shot from the grass here versus the sand. And one of the great initiatives that the PGA Tour of Australasia have taken on board this season is the ability for the players to be able to use their rangefinders.
So it speeds up play.
It does, doesn't it? Because all these players will have yardage books that they purchase at the start of the week, and that'll give the distances to the front of the green or to bunkers to carry water, etc. But just being able to find out exactly how far you've got to the flag and save walking 20 or 30 metres over to a sprinkler, certainly at the end of the day adds up to a lot of time saved.
Especially with not having caddies compulsory this week. A lot of the guys pulling their own bags, so otherwise you got to walk out, find the dot in the middle of the fairway. So it speeds up play. Everyone's got one as well, so it's not like it's an unfair advantage.
Well, Peter Wilson, he was a Western Australian PGA champion back in 2012. In fact, I referenced Jake Higginbottom's win at the 2012 New Zealand Open before. Peter Wilson was runner-up that week. He actually got the winner's check. Jake Higginbottom being an amateur, so that winner's check went to Peter Wilson.
It's like the only time you like coming second, hey, when an amateur beats you. What do you reckon he's got in, about 160? Fly lie?
Yeah, from here it's roughly 160 metres. So, I mean, coming out of the rough with the flag at the back, it's about 10 or 12 paces over that tier. Would he be looking to land this in the front half of the green and releasing it up there?
Yeah, and if it gets all the way back there, it's the bonus, because really the other place you can't go is long, because if it does land on that back shelf, it's probably going to get a big bounce.
Ball above his feet. You can see he's aiming a little bit to the right.
Doesn't like it. It'll be a tough one to shot.
Well, we saw Peter Lonard in there earlier. I think we might see a few balls in there today. You don't want to miss this green to the left. Mind you, that bunker shot there, long bunker shot coming up a tier. Not for the faint-hearted.
Not at all. Becky next to play. Pretty similar. He's in the fairway, so it's going to be easy to judge contact and the distance coming out.
Seems like a similar style of shot, though. Ball a little bit above his feet.
Yeah, the wind off the right and should be helping to draw as well. Looks like he likes it.
He's certainly posing on it. Yeah, that was all over the flag, just off the back fringe. That'll be an outside chance for Darren Beck for a birdie. Daniel Nisbet, his tee shot has ended up just in the left-hand rough here, but he's got a very good angle to this back flag on a little bit of a downslope. So look for this to land some 20, 30 feet short of the flag and release all the way back there. Okay, yeah, did you want to come on camera after this so I can introduce that? Okay, all right. Well, a very similar shot to Darren Beck's there for Daniel Nisbet, all over the flag. Well, we have a very special guest here in studio, the 2019 New Zealand Open champion, Zach Murray. Thanks for joining us.
No, good to be here. Well, I suppose it's good to be. I missed the cut this week, but it's always nice to get these opportunities and a little bit of practice today, ready for next week.
Well, I remember earlier this year I was walking around the course with you in Queenstown, and you absolutely dominated that week. Last year you had a win as an amateur at the Western Australian Open, so 2 wins now on the PGA Tour of Australasia. How would you compare that second win in New Zealand to that first one?
I suppose winning's winning, really. I mean, it doesn't really matter, obviously, to the extent of the New Zealand Open compared to WA, a slightly larger event, and it certainly set me up this year, but really similar circumstances. It's pretty scary, really. I lost the lead in WA. I'd led all week, lost the lead on the 13th hole in WA, and I lost the lead on the 12th hole in New Zealand for the first time, really, all week. So, yeah, obviously, somewhere up in the brain, I just knew I could do it, and yeah, just was fortunate enough to play sort of some pretty nice golf through the middle of that back nine, and yeah, it was a pretty cool week.
Well, this is Peter Wilson. We saw his second shot into 18, finding the bunker. This is a tough shot here, isn't it?
Yeah, it is a tough one. Up that tier. It looks like a pretty good shot, though.
Oh, goodness. That is a sensational shot from Peter Wilson. Certainly made it look simple. So that win that you had at the New Zealand Open earlier this year, that got you an exemption to play on the Asian Tour. Is that correct?
Yeah, it did, yeah, for this year and 2 further years. So obviously to start my career like that was really cool. And yeah, I think just when you turn pro, like, I feel as though a few of the boys that have turned pro recently are sort of in a pretty similar situation. Like, you feel like there's just so much pressure to find somewhere to play, and yeah, just somehow managed to snag that win, and it set me up for the next couple of years. So that's nice. But obviously you've always got to try and capitalise on that, and I've had a pretty good year, just sort of the last couple of months, just not scoring as well as I have, but yeah, as I said, in a nice position. So yeah, looking forward to the next couple of years.
Well, you've had a couple of wins in the past 12 months. This man in your picture, Daniel Nisbet, 3 wins since the beginning of last year, and he's an interesting player, Daniel Nisbet. It's really feast or famine, isn't it? He's either winning or he's missing the cut, it seems like. Yeah,
I played with him the first 2 days, and he's playing pretty well, actually. He sort of just batted a little bit on the back nine yesterday, just missed a couple of putts, but I mean, you can just see once he gets red hot, there's no fear there, and he rolls the rock pretty well.
Let's see if he can roll it in here for birdie at 18. Gosh, that was tracking. Well, one of the perks, one of the really big perks here in Australia is if you win the money list at the end of the year. Jake McLeod, last year he was a winner here at Twin Creeks. He was third at the Australian Open, and by virtue of winning the money list here in Australia, that gave him a European Tour exemption for 2019, and he's just regained his card at the qualifying school over there. So how are you sitting on the money list right now? And I'm assuming that's a big goal of yours to win the money list at the end of the season.
Yeah, so I'm second on the money list at the moment, and yeah, I mean, it's just 2 weeks of solid golf and just see what happens. I'm a big believer in, you know, everything happens for a reason, and you sort of just got to ride the wave a little bit. And at the moment, I feel like my game's trending a little bit, so we'll just put the head down and try and play well next week firstly, and then and the PGA to finish off the year. So there's a lot of positives to the end of the year that could happen. So yeah, just looking, I'm really excited actually. Just nice to be back playing in Australia.
I can tell by that smile on your face, and from what I saw earlier this year, certainly more than capable of hoisting at least one more trophy before the year is out. And we just saw Darren Beck clean up for par there on 18. Peter Wilson, he loves to putt with the flagstick in.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, I spoke to him about it earlier in the year, and he just finds it's easy to line up for him. So yeah, I'd back Pete to hole this one. He's a short game whiz.
Will it be commentator's curse? Oh,
Jesus, no
spot
curse.
on.
No curse.
Zach Murray with the prediction right there. That is an amazing up and down from that front bunker. That was about as tough as it gets.
The hairdo as well. I mean, look at that. It's brilliant.
Well, that's an interesting hairdo, that's for sure. You had the mullet going at the New Zealand Open earlier this year.
I did, yeah. It was a bit of, I feel as though it's a bit of Samson and Delilah, that sort of stuff. I've cut my powers off, so I might have to get it back. But
well, this man in your screen, he turned 18 on Tuesday. He has a really big future. Hayden Hopewell from Western Australia. He was second to Michael Sim recently at the Western Australian Open. He was a winner of the Junior Sixes Invitational at Cronulla Golf Club, which earned him an exemption into this championship about 6 or 7 weeks ago. 3 weeks ago, I actually played with Hayden the first 2 rounds in the Gippsland Super 6, and he finished top 10 there. He's a very, very impressive young player, just one of many that are coming through the ranks.
Yeah, WA seem to be producing a fair bunch of the talent in Australia at the moment. There's a fair bit over there, and I haven't met Hayden before, but I keep a close eye on golf scores all around the world, and he seems to be up there every week he plays, no matter the event. So he's obviously got a pretty steady head on him and trusts his ability.
Yeah, he told me that Zach Murray is one of his idols. This is Jamie Arnold. Speaking of Cronulla Golf Club, I've known Jamie Arnold for 25 years. We grew up together. He had a good round yesterday, 5 under par to be around for the weekend. He's been competing on the Corn Ferry Tour in the United States for the past 2 or 3 seasons. A really, really hard luck story for Jamie this year, just missing out on his PGA Tour card. He had a very solid season, finishing 36th on the money list. And another one that we've seen, this is the 3rd ball in the last 2 groups that we've seen avoid this fairway bunker by less than 5 or 6 feet.
It's hard to tell there, but it sort of looks like a bit of an awkward lie. Like, looks like it could jump on him, which he's sort of taking his time, which is probably, it's a little bit tricky.
Is it just me, or that feels like if that was my ball, it would have rolled about 2 or 3 centimetres into the bunker and I'd have no swing?
Oh, it definitely would have rolled into the bunker, I'd say. But you'd probably, it actually looks like it's sitting quite nicely, but it just looks like it should jump a little bit. So probably something landing, middle short of the green there, it'll chase up.
Well, that flag 33 paces on today. Jamie makes his home in Atlanta these days. But his partner Kim and son Luke out here staying with him. Nice high ball flight. Oh, wonderful shot from Jamie Arnold. He's got about 18 feet for a birdie up the hill there at 18. You played with Jamie?
I haven't, no, but he obviously had a pretty great season on the web.com this year, and we're super close to getting his PGA Tour card. So it's been playing pretty well.
Well, the third member of this group is the current Australian amateur champion, Connor Purcell. Coming from the left side, he has a great angle into the flag, trying to draw it in. He's on a good line, but just coming up short. James Grierson earlier was talking about that tier in the green. That's going to be a very difficult two-putt from down there. Strong physique, hasn't he? Connor Purcell. Well, we'll go back to the 17th hole, the par 3. Well, in fact, earlier today, myself and James Grierson took a look at the 17th, a little more in depth. The final hole here of the AV Jennings New South Wales Open Championship at Twin Creeks Golf and Country Club, the 402-metre par 4 18th hole. Now, over the first 2 days, it's played the 6th most difficult hole, 44 birdies, 55 bogeys, and guilty as charged one of the 11 double bogeys right here. But the challenge begins right here with the tee shot.
Yeah, it's a pretty narrow tee shot with the tree line hugging both sides of the fairway. So a lot of guys will hit 3-wood or 2-iron, probably with a little draw, try and chase it out. The bunker's at 258 up the right. So some guys can be tempted to hit driver over the left tree. The only problem is if it goes left, there is water that comes into play. So see what the guys are up for.
Yeah, it's an awesome tee shot. Keeps the players on their toes right till the finish. Second shot is something pretty special as well. So let's go and take a look at that. Well, I referenced back on the tee that it's a pretty special second shot into the 18th green here at Twin Creeks Golf and Country Club. From here, you've got a very good visual as to why that is the case. And if the player can safely negotiate that fairway bunker over there on the right-hand side and to the opposite side, the water on the left, they're left with roughly 140 to 150 metres here for their approach. And whilst it looks fairly inviting, that's not necessarily the case, is it?
No, not at all, Ewan. The flag today, 33 on 7 from the left. So at 20 metres on the green, goes up to the back shelf. So it's quite a tough two-putt if it doesn't get all the way back there. The green's only 15 metres wide at the back as well, so it is quite a narrow landing area.
And add to that, about 1,000 spectators up there in the clubhouse expecting you to hit a good shot into the green. Expect the players to be perhaps a little weak at the knees as they hit their second shot here into 18 this afternoon. Well, as you probably just figured out, that was the 18th hole, not the 17th hole. Hayden Hopewell with his birdie putt up the hill there, coming up about 3 feet short.
It's a pretty good lag up there. It's always a tough putt to up that back tier, so he'll take that.
Yeah, well, this is going to be a very difficult one to lag as well for Connor Purcell coming up the tier. Is it going to move a little bit left once it gets over that tier?
Yeah, it should really just snap hard in the middle and sort of straighten out at the end. But the greens are rolling pretty pure out there at the moment. It's some of the best surfaces that most of the guys will see all year. It's just perfect speed for holing putts.
It's a good roll, just a little firm. Not really the one you want to leave yourself for a second putt par on the final hole. Are they some of the firmest greens you've played in a while, those first 2 days?
Oh, they have. Yeah, they were. I mean, it took a little while to get used to. There was some shots out there where, I played Q School in Spain a couple of weeks ago, and it was really cold, and the ball was pretty soft. So to go from you're playing sort of 2 clubs less, which is sort of sometimes hard to get used to.
Well, we saw the wonderful second shot for Jamie Arnold here into 18. This 18 feet up the hill to finish with a birdie. Oh, Jamie. That was in until he hit it, that one.
It's still a pretty good round. 4 under to finish the day.
Well, yesterday, Jamie shot 2 over par 74 the first round. Yesterday, he was 3 over par for the round after 5 holes. He was 5 over for the tournament. He then went 8 under par the next 13 holes to finish the tournament at 3 under par. And here he is now at 7 under.
Yeah, that's just, he certainly shows the signs of the mental game that the man has. It's just what good players do. They fight until the end. And as I said before, good players just back their ability, and I'm sure he knows he's playing well, and that's sort of what he would have been telling himself yesterday. There would have been a bit of frustration, but sometimes you just got to channel that, and if you can, it makes a huge difference.
Connor Purcell for a par. Beautiful putt there. Great putting stroke. Mentioned earlier. Winner of the Australian Amateur Championship this year, so that earns him an exemption into the Australian Open Championship next week. So Zach Murray will be competing. Hayden Hopewell, good 2-putt 4 there at 18. He was #1 junior in Australia until he turned 18 on Tuesday. Now amongst the big boys. The conditions fairly benign out there today. Wind was expected to get up a little bit this afternoon.
Yeah, it's meant to be a few storms rolling about, but it's an absolute 10 out of 10 day out there. You know, yesterday got pretty hot in the afternoon, and today it's beautiful. You know.
All right, back in the 18th fairway, Victorian Andrew Martin with his second shot from the right side of the fairway. He's laid back quite a fair way, so you're looking at 180 metres to get back to the flag from this point. Five under par for the tournament, 1 under on his round. He's been in good form lately, Andrew Martin. He was top 5 in Thailand recently, and that's a good-looking shot there. Well, Zach Murray, thank you very much for your time and having a chat to us, and all the very best the next couple of weeks.
No, thanks so much. Thanks for having me on, and enjoy the rest of the time.
Thanks very much, mate. Well, the second member of this trio, Jordan Zunic. Another man who is a winner of the New Zealand Open. He's got Jono Painter from the Avondale Golf Club caddying for him there. You know Jordan pretty well, James?
Yeah, Jordan had no status and then pre-queued for New Zealand PGA. Come top 10. Got into New Zealand Open. Yeah, we were playing pennants. And then all of a sudden, he won New Zealand Open. No more pennants for us.
Well, I can tell you that he's the only player in the field who has brought his dog out today.
Yeah, Livy brought the dog out. Teasy actually got a great photo on the first tee of the dog that's been all over their social media of late, sitting there waiting for Jordan. Then I hear he was walking the dog down the 14th fairway.
Well, we saw that at the Vic Open earlier this year with spectators walking their dogs along the fairway. I'm not sure there's been a player bring his pet dog out.
Why not? Sort of brings a bit more atmosphere to it, especially when there's no ropes.
Must be just a group of
Jordan Zunic's been playing on the European Challenge Tour the past couple of seasons. Just failed to earn his card for the European Tour. And this group, only a 2-ball today. The third member, James Conran, a 20-year-old amateur from Orange. We wish him a very, very speedy recovery. He had to, unfortunately, make a trip to the hospital overnight. A little worse for wear, an illness striking him down. So our best wishes go out to James and his family. Well, we have another special guest here in the studio, a man I've known for 25 years now, James Nitties. Good to have you here.
Yeah, pleasure to be here, actually. It's good to get into the booth where the professional Ewan Porter and myself is and have a little friendly chat.
Well, unfortunately, you drew the short straw and played with me the first couple of days, but it was good to reminisce out there. But what's James Nitties up to these days?
I'm grinding. I'm trying to get my Aussie Tour card back. I'm playing all the Aussie summer events. I was in America for about 4 months throughout the middle of the year. I've still got past champion status on the Corn Ferry Tour. So just really working hard to get back to where I used to be as a golfer. And yeah, it's it's tough. You got all these whippersnappers out here that can really play the game, and especially over in America as well. So just working hard, loving my golf, loving the process, just trying to, just play good and get back on TV again, maybe.
So you said you're grinding. We know you had a win this year on the All-Pro Tour. That's what it's called in the United States?
Yes.
Back in 2009, 2010, you were playing on the PGA Tour. 2011, you were a winner on the Corn Ferry Tour. We know you've gone close to winning Australian Opens and Australian Masters titles. Is there any discernible difference between what you were doing then versus now?
I think a lot of older golfers, well, I'd like to consider not so much older, but maybe a wily veteran, would agree that the older you get, the more pressure you put on yourself. The game gets harder mentally, commitment, everything that goes, when you're a kid and you're so confident, the game just seems easy. So, you know you've got great golf in you, but for me personally, really struggling on the mental side and just working hard and trying to get back and just playing good golf again.
Yeah, well, from what I saw the first couple of days, it's not too far away, especially with that putting. Sensational. Speaking of putting, this man can roll his rock. Jordan Zunic. You had much to do with Jordan?
I like Zunic's game a lot. He's one of those guys that it could either look like he's not playing too well or come out and be leading a tournament by 8. He's just got all the shots. He hits it really good and knows how to go low.
Well, speaking of going low, it was 2 years ago at the Australian PGA Championship, Royal Pines, which I consider a pretty tough golf course. Jordan was 11 under par for the round through 16 holes, which is almost unfathomable around there, and ended up losing a playoff that year to Cameron Smith.
I remember being on the course that day and through about 16, looking up at the leaderboard and seeing his name and just being baffled that someone was shooting. It was very tough out there. It was kind of impossible to believe someone was doing that day. So that's the type of golfer he is. He can just do crazy things and on tough days.
Well, Andrew Martin, I mentioned he's been in good form. He was 4th at the Thailand Open 3 weeks ago, 7th at the Victorian PGA last month. He's been out here for quite a while now, the 35-year-old Victorian. 4 top 20s on the Australasian Tour this season. You can just see in the background there, we were talking earlier about Jordan Zunic bringing his pet dog out. His fiancée, Olivia.
I heard there was a dog loose on the golf course holding up play about 10 minutes ago, so I was wondering if that was the culprit right there.
Well, I think it's a good thing seeing pets out here. There's our current leaderboard, Justin Warren, 6 under par for the round, just shooting lights out here at Twin Creeks. He's joined by Minwoo Lee at 15 under par. Andrew Dope, even par for the day, 14 under. Who do you like out of those players, James?
Oh, there's a lot of good names up there. You've got Andrew Dope, who's pretty regular on top of the leaderboard and been there before, and then Younger, that crazy round on Thursday, 9 under in the afternoon. That felt like an Australian Open course out there, and then just Minwoo's had a great year, and I think Justin Warren won a Pro-Am the other day, so he's kind of in form. And there's a lot of great names there that obviously that everyone sees that could jump out. It's a bunched leaderboard as well, so if there's hot scoring tomorrow, anyone could win.
Marcus Fraser, he was runner-up at the Victorian PGA last month. Always expect to see his name somewhere near the top of the leaderboard. Tom Power-Horan, you know much about Tom? He was a winner just a few weeks ago.
I've heard the name. I know who he is. I haven't had the pleasure of playing with him, and saw that he won the Gippsland Super 6 and in pretty bad conditions.
Current Australian junior champion Elvis Smiley. It's a famous name. His mother Liz, 4-time Grand Slam doubles champion. She's down here supporting her son this week. Elvis, 6 under par, good round today, 4 under par, 68. He's alongside David McKenzie, who plays on the PGA Tour Champions. And I was talking before about the dispersion in age brackets of players out here. You've got David McKenzie, who's 52 years old, Elvis Smiley, 17 years old. And, I guess when you see someone like a David McKenzie still performing so well, it's got to give you hope that there's plenty of good golf ahead.
Yeah, I'd like to think I wasn't too long in the tooth, and that's a good thing about Australian golf. I suppose our Australian golf courses, it's that they can't be overpowered, and sometimes it comes down to experience, but sometimes it just comes down to talent. So I think that's why you're seeing a lot of bunched up leaderboards over here with young and older talent, and you have Nathan Green, who's I'd like to call him not the grizzled vet, but there's a lot of Lonard's hit some. I heard Lonard hit it amazing today, Peter Lonard, and just wasn't able to hold any putts. So maybe the head's getting in his way a little bit, but as soon as it seems that the younger you are, the more confident and more putts you hold. So I think if the older boys can roll some in, it definitely just puts them straight back on the leaderboard.
All right, well, we'll be coming back with more live feature hole coverage of the 17th and 18th hole after this commercial break.
AV Jennings design communities where there's plenty of parks, pathways and playing fields for kids to have some fun. And it's not just kids. An active lifestyle is good for all of us. It's why thousands of people make their home in an AV Jennings community every year.
Well, this is the par 3 17th hole. This year's Australian amateur runner-up, Nathan Barbieri, has a famous name on the bag. Braith Anasta caddying for him this week. Went around in 7 under par 65 day one. Well, I'm not exactly sure where that one's finished, but that's a pretty generous hole location there on the left. The first day there, the flag was at the front middle. Yesterday over on the right-hand side, but anything really 10, 15 feet right of that flag, and it will feed in. You can see Braith Anasta there carrying the clubs of Nathan Barbieri. Braith came through with us. Got to be 21, 22 years ago now. Was in the state junior squad and can certainly play himself.
Yeah, I think that was one of those talented athlete camps that they used to organise at Narrabeen, and I think we all decided to have a game of football that day, and yeah, it was like a bowling ball with a set of pins. So
was it him versus the rest?
I'm pretty sure. I remember a couple of boys thought they could take him on, and yeah, I think we all knew that he was going to be something special in the league world, but he's also a +2, pretty handy golfer himself now. So good to see him on the bag and helping a young fella out.
Yeah, he's actually just started up a management company called Siru Sports Management. Braith Anasta looking after a few players. Ben Campbell, probably the most notable being Dimi Papadatos, who was runner-up at the Australian Open last year and played in the British Open Championship this year. Well, James Nitties, it's been a pleasure having you here and chatting to you and hearing what you're up to, and we wish you all the very best these next few weeks, the Australian Open and the Australian PGA Championship, and perhaps that next victory is not too far away.
That would be awesome, and thanks for having me. And it was a pleasure to watch the old Ewan Porter with the amount of talent that he had over the last 2 days. It was fun to watch. You still got all the shots, and yeah, I think you might make a comeback yet soon.
Might make more than 1 or 2 cameos a year. No, it's been a pleasure. Thanks very much.
Thanks.
Well, let's get back out to the live golf here at 17. Well, we didn't see Nathan Barbieri's tee shot land, but this is why it's gone left in the greenside bunker, and it's going to be a very awkward bunker shot from this position. Over the first couple of days, we saw a few golf balls bury in these bunkers around the greens here, and we don't have a close-up, unfortunately, of what type of lie Nathan has, but I can tell you if this ball is sitting down, next to no chance, James Grierson, that he can get this close. Yeah, that was pretty impressive what he had going a couple of years ago. If you can visualise what James Grierson has just said, a mustache that it's, yeah. No, he's a good-looking fella, James. I'll man enough to say that. But I think when he had that mustache into a mohawk, that was it was funny. But I wouldn't want to see that as a permanent fixture.
Got Dale Williamson here with the zinc on the nose and the white Titleist hat, and Jacob Boyce from Queensland. Looks like Dalesby first apart.
Good form, Dale Williamson. Tied for third last month at the Western Australian Open. 25-year-old. It's been a bit of a rough year. Only 3 of 10 cuts made.
been playing really good in the Pro-Am series. I know he got pretty hot up in the mining towns when Tim Hart went crazy. I think Dale come second to him in a few of those. He's got about 30 feet, a little bit downhill and a couple of feet right to left break.
He's going along nicely today, 6 under par for the tournament. He's really putting right from the spine here, isn't he? So this one's got to move quite significantly right to left.
Yep. Could get away from him at the hole, but I wouldn't say it's generally going to be a really quick putt.
Lovely putting stroke. Oh, look at this roll. Oh, I had eyes for the hole, just coming up 3 or 4 inches short. That's a safe par. That man in your picture there, who'll be next to putt, Jacob Boyce,
is
from
a
Caloundra
unit.
I know you do a lot of gym work. Have you ever tried to match him in the gym?
No, I've seen a couple of Boyce's videos, and he told me about a couple of things, and it just sounds like a back injury waiting to happen. But we all have our thing, and I play with Boise Queensland PGA, and it's definitely gotten hot because I know he shot 8 under at NT PGA earlier in the year, and he had another good round at WA PGA, so he's definitely going low when he does get low. He hasn't had the best day today, but
just charged that one through the break. He has had a couple of top 15s on the tour this season. He was the Queensland PGA Rookie of the Year last year.
One of those players that when he does get hot, he can definitely go low.
It'll be an interesting little battle with him and Braith out there, I think.
Who wears the tightest shirt?
A couple of strong fellas, that's for sure. We saw Nathan Barbieri's bunker shot. Mentioned he was a runner-up at the Australian Amateur earlier this year. He was also a runner-up at the New South Wales Amateur Championship. I got to meet him for the first time about 3 months ago at the US Amateur Championship at Pinehurst in North Carolina. Certainly seems like he's got a good head on his shoulders.
Yeah. I stayed with Barb that week, Aussie Am, and he didn't play all that great.
Oh.
The week before at Master of the Amateurs, but he had a good last round, and then he just sort of kept going, and he landed the day of New South Wales Amateur, went out there, come 3rd in the stroke play, ended up coming runner-up that week as well, so he definitely shows that when he's playing good, he can definitely contend.
Well, we'll go ahead to the 18th green. This is the trio of Simon Hawkes, Blake Windred, and the man about to putt is a 2-time winner on the Australasian PGA Tour, Daniel Fox from Western Australia.
His Mo sort of beats mine.
Yeah, this is, well, I don't know. Is it a fantastic mustache? Is it a terrible mustache? You make up your mind, but he's certainly winning Movember. And I tell you what, it's for a great cause.
He has raised a fair bit of money. I did see that on his Twitter yesterday, which is to a great cause. Is that a yellow ball?
It's a yellow. He is 43 years old, so perhaps he's struggling to see it at the moment.
I'm not going to comment. Are you going to start using yellow ball soon, or you're okay?
Well, I don't know how he had any golf balls left the way I hit it the first couple of days here, so it could be yellow. It could be whatever I find next.
He's got young Molly Lavacum caddying for Simon Hawkes. Comes with the trainee system as well.
What about this man, Blake Windred, a guy you know pretty well?
Yeah, I was in the high performance program with Winnie for the last 3 years. Very confident. Probably one of the best putters I've ever seen. I don't think I've ever seen him hit a putt that hasn't rolled end over end. Played very good in Big PGA, come top 10, and did that again at WA PGA as well. So in his first 2 events as a pro, and then went over to European Tour School, and he actually won second stage. And he was leading by a lot going to the 3rd round as well. So he narrowly missed out on the 4-round cut. So, but big future from Blakey.
Absolutely, he was one of the top 10 amateurs in the world actually just before he turned pro.
Yeah, very smart. He's always reading books. Anyway, for Blake to get better, he's doing everything he can. So
Daniel Fox this year has had a pretty good season up in Asia. He's 4 top 10s. He's got one of my good friends, Russ Kirchner, on the bag. Someone else you know pretty well from the Bonnie Doon Club.
Russ is probably the funniest man I've ever met.
Oh, that's not how you want to finish, Daniel Fox.
Yeah, I think Russ was in the bag the last 3 weeks over in Asia as well.
Yeah, disappointing. And of course, Blake Windred, he's still only 21 years of age.
We'll be excited to get his first Aussie Open away at his home track next week at the Australian. Obviously loves the Twin Creeks venue, coming tie 4th in 2017 and 3rd last year, leading Am both years, so be good to see him shoot a low one on Sunday.
Interesting routine, isn't it? The putting stroke very close to the ball, and what he's doing with his shirt there.
Tucking under the left arm, stay connected. I'm a little bit under that boat as well, so Phil Mickelson all black.
All right, well, a safe 2-putt 4 there at 18 for the rookie professional, Blake Windred. So by virtue of reaching final stage of the European qualifying school, Blake Windred will have some status to play on the Challenge Tour there next year. It might only get him a handful of starts over there, but one would think that he'll obtain a few invitations to compete on the main tour as well. Simon Hawkes, winner of last year's Victorian Open. He also played in that qualifying school just a couple of weeks ago in Europe, so he'll be competing on the Challenge Tour as well next season. Good to see the crowds out watching. 3rd year, the Twin Creeks Golf and Country Club has hosted this New South Wales Open Championship. Prior to that, it was Stonecutters Ridge, not too far from here, but Western Sydney really has proven to be a great venue, like a great place to host a tournament of this stature.
Yeah, great relationship between Golf New South Wales and Greater Western Sydney to get the event out here and get some good international and amateur and pros events.
And $400,000 prize money. It really is one of the bigger events here on the PGA Tour of Australasia, and rightly so. As I mentioned earlier, players the likes of Greg Norman and Kel Nagle have been winners of this great championship in years gone by. But there's our current leaderboard. Justin Warren and Minwoo Lee continue to lead the way. Travis Smythe has made his way to 14 under par, joining Andrew Dope, only 1 stroke out of the lead. Josh Younger and Jake Higginbottom there, hot on their tail, only 3 and 4 strokes behind.
Got Rankins already won this year as well, the NTPGA, so he's definitely having a really good back end of the year. I played with him earlier in the year and I was really impressed, and I hadn't really heard much of Brett before that. So
yeah, very solid play. You saw Max McArdle's name towards the bottom of the leaderboard there. He played in the final group, round 3 of the Australian Open Championship last year at the Lakes. He's had 3 runner-ups as a professional. Still looking for that first victory. Not easy to win, but the more often you put yourself in contention out here, obviously the better chance you have of getting the job done. This is the trio we just saw on the 17th hole. Jacob Boyce, Dale Williamson and Nathan Barbieri. They're making their way to their approach shots at 18, but we'll go back to 17, the par 3. And this is Tom Power-Horan in your picture here. Mentioned he was a winner 3 weeks ago at the Gippsland Super 6, his first win on the PGA Tour of Australasia. And interestingly enough, golf is not his full-time job. He's working as a caddy at Royal Melbourne.
Actually, at the Grand.
At the Grand?
Yeah, Capital, sorry.
At Capital Golf Club. We'll get it right soon.
Yeah, I played with Tom at Gippsland, and it's probably one of the most impressive, especially the weather wasn't all that great, and he was in full control mentally and ball striking for the 36 holes. I think it took us 3 and a bit days. So, and then he went out and won in the afternoon, Sunday afternoon. So, first professional win, and he took 12 months off to get his golf back to where he wanted it to be. So it's good to see him come back and through and win straight away. Yeah, he's done the right thing. Obviously, he's had 5 top 25s this season. Certainly heading for another one here. His tee shot at 17, trying to utilise that spine in the middle of the green, but that's not too far from where we saw Dale Williamson's tee shot finish up about 5-10 minutes ago. You do have that water on the left-hand side there. We shouldn't see any balls in there today, but still, visually, it's not easy to look at when it's right there. Got Jordan Mullaney teeing up. Played well here last year as well, tie 6th, I believe. Interesting swing. He's from out this way. He's from the Western Sydney. Brother Jake used to play for the Parramatta Eels.
sporting pedigree in that family. That too, finishing right on the spine. Quick putt downhill right to left from that position.
The last player of the group, Aaron Townsend. 70-70, -4. Not a bad way to start the week.
He's a former winner of this 18th hole. He'll be looking to turn this in from right to left. He's been playing up in Japan the last couple of years, Aaron Townsend, but he's a very, very solid player. 7th cut he's made this season out of 9 tournaments. Oh, look at this one. I said he'd birdie it. Could it be one better? It can! I said we'd see a hole-in-one here today.
Who said that earlier? I think that was me.
Was it you, was it?
Yeah, I think so.
Aaron Townsend, an ace at 17. Well, I don't think he's going to shoot 70 now because
69.
Wow.
That makes Saturday afternoon a lot better, doesn't it?
What about the timing of that? Aaron Townsend, a wide grin on his face, and why wouldn't it be?
You're a bit of a statsman, Ewan. Can you pull out the top of your head how many hole-in-ones he's had? Or put you under too much pressure there?
I've got no idea. I could have just guessed and said 12 and sounded very
confident.
No, but I'm not sure. But I'm not sure if there's any that he's had as prominent as that one.
Not with us commentating anyway.
You know what? That was so good. I think we should take a look at it again.
I agree with that.
Aaron Townsend, but he's a very, very solid player. 7th cut he's made this season out of 9 tournaments. Right at the flag, trying to turn it in a little bit from right to left. We know that this green
look at this one.
A little bit.
I said he'd
birdie it. Could it be one better? It can! That was never missing. I said we'd see a hole-in-one here today. That was never, ever missing.
That earlier? I think that was probably one of the best feelings, high-fiving your partners after you've had a hole-in-one. They take the putters and you just walk out and pick the ball out of the hole.
Goodness. Now, what do? Do you keep the golf ball? Do you frame it?
Sign it. You definitely... You've got to hide it somewhere. You've got to put it somewhere, sorry, not hide it. Or do you use it the next hole?
No, well, especially not 18 with water on the left. Do what I did yesterday. That ball would be good night very quickly.
Mark up a new pill for the last hole.
I'm very happy for Aaron Townsend. He's a good man, 38-year-old from Newcastle. Look at that. Thank you. Well, I can tell you that 5 under par needs to be updated. He will be 7 under par after that ace, excuse me, moving inside the top 20.
Keep smiling. I'd be smiling. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah,
bit of emotion.
Love it. Well, I don't believe that wins him anything. He certainly won our accolades here and pretty loud vocal support in the commentary booth, but no doubt he'll be very, very pleased to vault from 5
Second
under par
one of the week.
to 7 under par.
Hole-in-one earlier on in the week. Second one.
Not sure who that was.
It was the second hole, I know that. I've had a bit of a mental blank.
Second hole, a hole-in-one. You're going to have to find out who that was.
Andrew Martin.
Andrew Martin.
Yep.
We just saw him in our live coverage about 15, 20 minutes ago. Wow.
You've just seen this putt.
Yeah, what do you do? I mean, you've just played with a guy who's made one 30 feet away. Do you feel inferior? You really have to knuckle down, don't you, on a putt like this, because it's so easy to get swept up in what Aaron Townsend has just done.
Yeah, Tom's going to get a great read off Jordan's putt here. And we know what it does. We know what it does, but obviously...
But I think it'll be pretty evident from where he's putting from that it's going to move from right to left. Should be fairly quick the second half of its journey.
Good.
Oh, look at this roll. I was going to say you roll it in for a 2 and lose the hole.
Not disappointing 3 there at all. He's also on track for the 70-70-70, so maybe he can take it over from Aaron.
He's in good form, Jordan Mullaney. He was top 10 last month at the Victorian PGA Championship. Interesting setup with his putter there, Tom Powerhorn, standing a little further away from it.
It works. Didn't quote me on that one.
Yeah. Certainly did it in Gippsland. 26-year-old. 3 under par in the round. He's alongside his playing partner, Aaron Townsend, at 7 under. Every dollar counting.
A lot of smiles in that group.
Well, they've just lost the hole by 2 strokes. Regulation par. Nowhere near good enough. Yep, we saw it all, fellas. What a hole-in-one by Aaron Townsend. Will we see another one? I didn't think we'd see one that quickly.
No, but we did say we'd see one, so at least we got that part right. Could have sounded very ambitious otherwise.
Goodness.
That's probably definitely the hole to do it on, seeing how the other 3 par 3s aren't live streamed, but he's picked the right one.
Yeah, well, the hole location on 17 today is certainly probably the most conducive to a hole-in-one on the left side there. You can feed it in. It's the man of the moment, Aaron Townsend. Played in the Open Championship back in 2012. Royal Lytham and St Anne's. Likes to hit a little draw, so this tee shot here at 18 should really suit him. I guess the hardest part of the equation, James, for Aaron is coming down and off that celebration and realising you've still got a hole to play, and albeit a very difficult one as well. So you've really got to knuckle down and focus.
I'm sure Aaron's experience. He looks very calm, pulling out driver.
Bold play.
It's definitely, the reward's definitely worth it. He said he does like to hit a little draw, so it definitely suits his shot shape.
Interesting that he's gone to the right side of the tee. So I know growing up I was always told, well, if you want to hit a draw, go to the left side. It allows you to aim more down the right and turn it over, and vice versa for a fade. But he's gone to the right side here. Why would he be doing that?
Well, it obviously opens up the tee shot a lot more because it takes the left trees. Instead of having to hit it around the trees, you can hit it over the right edge of that left one in the distance. So it makes the hole a lot more accessible with driver. Or if he sets it up on the left-hand side, he'd have to hit it with a much bigger draw. It looks like he likes it.
Yeah, good ball follow there. Great work from our cameraman. Wonderful tee shot.
Perfect. A1.
Really is, certainly. Bolting up the leaderboard, Aaron Townsend, and where he's hit that tee shot, really, he'll only have a pitching wedge or a 9-9 in from there, so a good birdie opportunity.
He's obviously hitting his irons pretty well as well, so...
Yeah, so you can't hit him too much better than what he did on the previous hole. Now, Tom Powerhorn looks like he's just got the hybrid here.
Yeah, smart. Hits his hybrid very deep, so...
Very smooth golf swing. Flatter ball flight. Perfect.
Yes.
It's going to be about 40 yards behind Aaron Townsend's driver, but perfect position on the left side of the fairway. Good initiative that Golf New South Wales have gotten this week with the water bottles here, trying to eliminate plastic.
Yep. It's become a lot in the media lately, so it's great to see them on board with that.
Delaney, yeah, we've got an iron out, trying to hit the low draw around the tree. My goodness.
Shows how firm the fairways are. It's not going to be that far behind Townsend's driver.
What? That's gone 260 metres with an iron.
We did say the fairways were pretty firm.
It's incredible. I'm glad I'm in here talking about it. Aaron Townsend coming off the ace at 17.
Good note to a sour day.
How many have you had in your career?
6.
Got to have some wins there.
4
wins in life. Makes it up.
5. 2 in comp.
Okay.
Got me the honour on the next tee.
Yeah, well, okay, here's the next question. How many of them were excellent shots? Because I know for me, I can only recall one of my 16. Exactly how I drew it up.
There's no way they'll be rolling.
The 2 in comp and 1 was with the 5-iron. And I was very happy with that. The other one was with driver. And I didn't know where the hole went. I just got told where to hit it. And yeah, happened to go in. So I can say 2 out of 2. What about yours?
Andrew Martin, I think, had one somewhere. Maybe on that hole as well. Yeah, okay.
be enjoying the camera time.
Yeah, why wouldn't you after the ace there at 17? All three of those players going along pretty well today, and it's something that you can really feed off, isn't it? If the other two in the group are going well.
Yeah.
And vice versa too.
It sort of makes a big difference when all the players are sort of having birdie opportunities, and obviously pace of play gets pretty quick then as well, so you can just go along.
Well, that's a view from behind the 18th green, panning back to what the players will face for their seconds. It's a pretty wide tee shot, the 18th. I mean, that fairway is a generous fairway. The issue is when you're standing on that tee and you've got that huge gum tree there on the left that pokes its head out, and you've got to either go straight over it and take on the water on the left or draw it round it. It's a lot more intimidating than what it really is. And I feel like out here at Twin Creeks, you do get a lot of tee shots like that where realistically they're generous fairways, but visually on the tee, they're a little bit more intimidating than what the landing area really is.
There's a couple holes, well, 3, especially the drivable hole, where you can't actually see the green. So that makes it quite hard because you don't get to see where your ball lands. And for some players, that can be quite a hard thing. And then obviously the 15, the par 5, it's either you can take it over the right trees and get it a long way down there, or you can just sort of hit it up the left. So I guess it depends. If you're one of those players that likes seeing the ball land on the fairway, it can be a little bit harder, but if not, then it probably wouldn't phase you at all.
Jordan Mullaney's iron there is within 5 yards of Aaron Townsend's driver. He's not a short hitter, Aaron Townsend.
No. He probably wouldn't care either.
No, he wouldn't. I wouldn't either after a 1. All right, Tom Powerhorn, he'll be first to play. Left half of the fairway, back flag, 33 paces on.
Say 25 feet's a pretty good shot, right?
You'd think so, yeah, absolutely. You might be trying to visualise what Aaron Townsend did on the previous hole.
True. And just straight off the right.
Tom Powerhorn. Trying to turn it in a little from right to left. Oh, that was all over it.
Just trickle back down the slope. Pretty good shot. Like if it got a bit of a bigger bounce, it gets up there inside 10 feet, but still have 30 feet up the slope.
All right, Mullaney with his second after that huge long iron off the tee. Interesting action.
Staring it down.
Oh, wonderful shot.
Good shot.
I'm a big fan of his golf swing. There seems to be a lot more players these days that swing it pretty upright going back and then slot it into position coming down, really shallowing out that shaft plane. And he was a great example of that right there.
And then exiting left, so there's not much of the club face rotating through impact, which means it very consistent.
This man's been consistent over the years. Aaron Townsend mentioned 3 wins on the PGA Tour of Australasia. Here he is. Second shot into 18. Just trying to draw it in from right to left. Well, after the last hole, absolutely terrible. But really, a pretty good shot from Aaron Townsend.
20 feet, 15 feet up the hill. If you said that you're going to have a 15-footer for birdie straight up the hill on 18 before you teed off, you'd be pretty happy with that.
Well, realistically, if you play the last 2 holes in even par, it's not a bad effort. If you play them in 1 under, you're doing pretty well.
Yeah.
He's got that to play them in 3 under, which is just really mind-blowing.
Probably leads the field if he plays it in 3 under.
Now let's take a look at our current leaderboard. Justin Warren and Minwoo Lee, 16 under par. That is just incredible scoring out here today. Travis Smythe, Andrew Dote, 15 under par. Josh Younger, 13 under.
He goes 3 under.
Doug Klein, you mentioned that 65 today to get to 8 under par. Jamie Arnold in a share of 11th there at 8 under par.
Pretty congested once he gets off that main leaderboard, the first page, sorry.
Yeah, and a lot of proven winners there the first couple of pages. Michael Sim was a winner at the Western Australian Open Championship last month.
There's your boy, Elvis Smiley, leading him.
AV Jennings designed communities where there's plenty of parks, pathways and playing fields for kids to have some fun. And it's not just kids. An active lifestyle is good for all of us. It's why thousands of people make their home in an AV Jennings community every year.
Well, Tom Power-Horan will be first to putt at the 18th. His approach shot coming up just short of that tier there. But we've seen a couple of putts. Blake Windred had that same putt from down there. We know it's slow. We know it's moving a little bit right to left. But you've got to be careful you don't do what Connor Purcell did earlier and barge it 6 foot past the hole.
Yeah, 35, 40 feet. You know, obviously everyone wants to hole it, but inside 3 feet's a really good putt. So I'll certainly back Tom into the 2-putt this one. And
you said you played with him in Gippsland. Solid player all round. What was most impressive to you?
Composure. I guess from what he said to me was he hadn't really played until he did the Monday for Big PGA where he got through and then had a good week. So, you know, in his words, he hadn't been playing a lot. So to obviously hold his nerve that week, and you know, the winner's check, it's not one of the bigger ones in Australia, being 18,000, but still, it's still a fair bit of money. So, and winners category for the rest of this year and all of next year. So it obviously opened up a lot of opportunities for him, and he's taking it this week.
Yeah, it's interesting what you said there about the composure being something that impressed you, because if you ask a player about someone else and what impresses you, it's either the driving or the iron play or the putting. But composure is such an underrated element to a professional golfer's game, because most of these players out here can all do something physically very, very impressive, whether it's ball striking or being great putters. But it's being able to, or would you say being able to control your emotions when you're facing adversity, that's the underrated quality and something that's conducive to longevity in this game.
Definitely, because there's obviously, like you said, things that some guys do better than others, but overall, most of the guys are pretty similar on their A game. It's just about who can control their nerve. So many guys have had something great about them, and if it's confidence, then it makes a massive difference. Do you back me in to hold this one?
I do after the ace, yeah. He's going to roll this in. Oh, come on, Aaron. Don't let me down. But you know what? He's improved on his pair of 70s the first 2 days. That's around 69, 7 under par for the Novocastrian. Actually lives not too far away from here these days in Parramatta, Western Sydney.
Is that a frustration look on his little Basiled?
I think so, yeah. All right.
Didn't have to putt on 17, so that might have been why he didn't know how fast it was.
Mulaney.
Very nice birdie.
What a birdie at 18. We won't see too many of those today. Now, if Tom Power-Horan cleans this up, unless there is a mistake in the scoring, which I don't believe there is, all three of these players are going to finish at 7 under par. So there's a fair chance that this trio
tomorrow
could be playing together again tomorrow.
They obviously don't mind that, so they'd be enjoying that.
Smiles all around. You can tell they enjoyed their company and the game out there today.
70, 70, 69. What do you back him in for tomorrow?
Well, he's going to keep improving. Going 66. He's got a low one in him.
Which one are you talking about?
Any of them. I've got to give myself a better chance. Now, Aaron Townsend's shooting 66 tomorrow.
Okay.
There you go. You heard it here first. 13 under par he's going to finish. And he's going to finish in the top half a dozen. Well, they will make their way to the scorer's hut. And as they do, let's take a flyover of this very difficult 18th hole. Well, we've been talking about that gum tree on the left-hand side there, James, off the tee. And you can just see it sticking out as we cross over the water here. It's that tree on the left that really can wreak havoc with the players from the tee.
And that probably shows how much the water does actually come into play. You can't really see it from the tee box because of the trees.
Well, we were talking to a couple of players earlier who were talking about there's a bit of local knowledge, because that water there on the left that you just saw at the bottom of your picture, you can actually carry that with a driver, but that tree on the left does obscure your vision. of that, which is why players are trying to curve it around there.
And that's why today, with what Aaron did teeing up on the right-hand side and the wind off the right, it's really probably does make the whole lot easier.
So much sand up around the green as well. This trio, Max McArdle and Mark Hensby there in the front of your picture, Brett Rankin at the back. Mark Hensby, I like to call him Wolverine. He's definitely got a Hugh Jackman look about him, but Mark Hensby, an incredible career. He went over to the US in the late 90s. He was living in his car in Chicago while it was snowing. That's cold. At Cog Hill, which is a public golf course. One of the members saw him in there, fairly well off, and said, come and, you don't have to sleep in your car, come and stay with me for a while. Well, 3 or 4 years later, he was out playing on the what was called the Buy.com Tour then. It's known as the Corn Ferry Tour now. Ended up winning out there and made his way onto the PGA Tour. He was a winner at the John Deere Classic in 2004. 2005, he finished 3rd at the US Open. He was 5th at the Masters that year. He was top 15 at the Open Championship. Got to 27th in the world rankings. Played President's Cup that year. And that year as well, he won the Scandinavian Masters on the European Tour. So he was just on fire back in 2005. Unfortunately, in 2006, he was in a pretty serious car accident and really hurt his back. And from then, his career has just never quite been the same. But it's great to see Mark Hensby out here competing. And he's 48 years old now, so he's only 18 months away from being able to compete on the Champions Tour. And I certainly back him to do well out there.
Yeah, obviously a known winner. So going into probably trying to get some form back and then head over to the Champions Tour, and a lot of guys that are, it's very deep over there now.
Yeah, it certainly is. It's probably the hardest tour to get on now. Max McArdle.
A long way back.
He is a long way back, just taking an iron from the tee. He's had a good year, Max McArdle. This is the 16th cut he's made out of 19 events this season. 5 top 20s. Best finish of 8th at the Queensland PGA earlier this season, but he's been playing a lot of his golf up in China the last couple of years. 34-year-old from South Australia. Unorthodox looking action, but really covers the ball beautifully and quite a solid iron player.
It's a good shot. He's going to roll off there.
I think that's the issue with leaving the ball so far back there, is it's just so close to get it up on that top tier and within 15, 20 feet of the hole.
Yeah, well, the landing area is pretty small, so obviously we saw Jordan just before, only with a short iron in it, makes it quite a generous spot, but then when you're so far back like Maxi, it's you don't know what sort of bounce it's going to take on the firm greens.
Mark Hensby now with his second shot, originally from Tamworth. Going a little bit left of the flag. Oh, and a little
That's
deep.
Okay.
Yeah, not too bad. He's got it up there on the correct shelf.
You're backing in to give that one a chance. It is a bit of a Wolverine there, isn't it?
He's in good shape too. Lives in Scottsdale, Arizona. It was only a few years ago he's right into his cycling, Mark Hensby, and for charity he rode his bike across to Los Angeles, which I don't know the exact mileage, but I know it's about a 6.5 hour drive on the freeway. So, yeah, I can imagine being pretty exhausted at the end of it.
There wouldn't be much to look at in between.
No, just a lot of desert driving through Palm Springs. Now, Brett Rankin, the winner at the Northern Territory PGA Championship just 3 months ago, going along nicely today. He's at 9 under par. Second shot.
A wedge as well. He's hit a good tee shot. He walked a long way past that bunker.
Oh, classy shot from Brett Rankin all over the flag. It's good to see him get that victory. There, he's been close on a couple of occasions. A couple of top 20s in Australian Open Championships just a few years ago.
He's enjoying Saturday afternoon.
I'm a little surprised this wind hasn't gotten up. They did forecast at the start of the day for gusts to get up to 20 to 30 kilometres an hour this afternoon.
The boys are obviously enjoying it because the scoring is very good.
I think it'd be remiss not to mention the wonderful job that the ground staff here at Twin Creeks Golf and Country Club, the job that they've done in getting this course in pristine shape for this championship, because it has been so dry out in this part of Western Sydney for the last couple of months, really, and hence why we've seen some pretty bad bushfires really all throughout the state of New South Wales.
So we can sort of see the haze that's been hanging around today as well. The northerlies that were coming through yesterday, it's never good to see.
We've seen a few putts from short of that tier here at 18, but none from as far right as what Max McArdle's ball is. So that little tier that he's walking up there, he's pretty much going to have to start it right over where he moved that little bit of grass or whatever he was moving there. So there's going to be quite a big sling in this from right to left, and certainly judging the speed is going to be quite difficult.
Yeah, it's almost interesting how close he'll have to go to the fringe, because it is, his ball's nearly on the fringe, so won't be an easy 2-putt.
This would have to be one of the older trios out there today. Brett Rankin, the youngster, 32 years old in the group. Max McArdle, 34, and Mark Hensby, 48. 32, 34, that's 114 years they've got between the three of them.
I'm never going to comment on age, so I'll leave you to do that one.
I just like the fact that Mark Hensby at 48 doesn't have to use Just for Men. That happened for me at 27. I'm jealous.
Maxie and Mark have both got the flat brim on, so there's obviously...
Is there an element of youthfulness about them, or are they perhaps dreaming a little bit? What do you think?
Hensby's in good shape.
He is.
So Brett's obviously still getting it out there with where we saw his tee shot there, and winning this year as well, so I definitely wouldn't say that's going against them.
Right, and being serious for a moment here, which I don't do very often, but you know, we see a lot of these young players now in the gyms and working hard. We saw Jacob Boyce before talking about how much weight he lifts. I'm still of the belief that if you can remain supple, if you can remain limber and injury-free, that's as important to your golf career as anything else.
Definitely, because start off, if you're injured, you're not playing. So, and you sort of said, like, unfortunately what happened with Mark with the car accident, obviously that took a lot out of his body. So if you can stay injury-free, it means you've got a full year where you're playing.
Yeah.
As long as you've got status somewhere, you're playing where you're not having to go through rehab, or like a lot of especially the physio exercises are all to a prehab, essentially, to make sure that you're not going to get injured. So that's like, I know for my warm-up, it's all of my prehab stuff, especially.
Look how far right he's starting this, James.
Yeah, it did go up onto the fringe.
Oh, I'll slow down. No?
Pretty good. You could say it was just going sideways up there, and it started to come down the hill, so...
Yeah, it's more than acceptable. Still going to be a little knee knocker for a par to finish for Max McArdle. Mark Hensby will be next to putt.
Have you done much testing with flag in, flag out?
Not really. I mean, I haven't played enough golf, to be honest, to really make an educated statement on it. But, you know, from the golf that I have played, I like it. I wouldn't necessarily just say from a distance, a fair distance away, but any time when speed is going to be difficult to gauge, I feel like having that flag stick in is more conducive to being able to get that part of it correct.
It always helps the one that you feel like you've hit centre cup, but it's going a couple of feet past.
Yeah, trying to really get that to come from the left-hand side. Good speed. It should be a pretty simple par for Mark Hensby.
I guess the hard thing is with the flag being in is when it does get windy. I know myself, I hate hearing that flapping sound.
Yeah. Yeah, that's something that's not spoken about too often.
12 feet here for Brett.
Yeah, I'm going to go closer to 15. Downhill, braking quite a bit from his left to right.
Cup just outside the left edge.
I believe this is to get to 10 under par for Rankin. Oh, that is a beautiful putt. Really didn't expect anything less from the Northern Territory PGA champion. A great round of 66 today. Well, 16 under is currently leading, 10 under par, 6 behind. We've certainly seen people come from 6, 7 strokes back to win tournaments before. He's going to need a really low one tomorrow, but that's certainly putting him in contention.
I know we saw Townsend have the hole-in-one on 17, but is there many better feelings than birdieing the last? And
well, especially a difficult hole like this. That's the second one we've seen in the last 2 groups. Jordan Mulaney. Now Brett Rankin. Well, this is Max McArdle. He got a good round going as well. 5 under par for the day. This to finish at 9 under par for his 3rd round. Uphill putt.
It's a great 2-putt there from Maxi.
Yeah, it's a good feeling, isn't it? You certainly don't want to walk off that last hole with a 3-putt. Some good golf in that group today. Now let's go back to 17. The journeyman, Matthew Miller, the always consistent Matthew Miller, 2nd on the order of merit last year.
Playing with Nick Voken, Michael Sim.
43-year-old Matt Miller. He had 4 seasons on the European Tour from 2006 through to 2009. This man, Michael Sim, 10 years ago on the Corn Ferry Tour. He won 3 times, earning an automatic promotion to the PGA Tour. Reached 36 in the world that year. This for a birdie at 17. And he's been in good form of late. 3 top 3s in his last 3 starts. WA PGA, won the WA Open, and then 3rd again at the Victorian PGA. It's great to see him back in form.
The Kiwi, Nick Voke, very popular spot, as we saw where we went out there this morning. We said a lot of balls would finish in this area, straight up the hill. Just look like it come out a little bit wobbly from the fringe.
Well, Matthew Miller will be cleaning up here for his par. But an ordinary year by his standards, Matthew Miller, but a 6th just a few weeks ago in Gippsland. He's certainly got a putting stroke that's very idiosyncratic. It's an action you wouldn't necessarily want to copy, but it's very, very effective.
It works, and he's proved that recently.
With Justin Warren, Minwoo Lee continue to lead the way at 16 under par, 1 stroke ahead of Smythe and Doak.
AV Jennings design communities where there's plenty of parks, pathways and playing fields for kids to have some fun. And it's not just kids. An active lifestyle is good for all of us. It's why thousands of people make their home in an AV Jennings community every year.
Steve Waugh there, the former Australian cricket captain. I saw him down at Cronulla Golf Club just a few weeks ago. He's a member down there now. Loves his golf, as do most sports stars.
I think it's the game that everyone loves because you can't, it's impossible to conquer. There's always one element you can get better at.
I'm sure we all have had that love-hate relationship. I know when I stopped playing full-time back in 2013, I thought I hated the game. Some time away from it, doing normal jobs, I realised that I loved the game.
Yeah, I think we're very lucky, the fact that we've got to pursue, well, we get to pursue something that we're so passionate about.
Well, it's some interesting action so far. We've seen a hole-in-one. Birdies at the 18th, the difficult 18th. I didn't think we'd see too many birdies there today, but we're still seeing Justin Warren, Minwoo Lee out in front, 16 under par, leading the way. We're going to see them come through the 17th and 18th holes here in the next hour. But what do you make of this scoring, 16 under, 15 under? I don't think it's that easy a golf course, but apparently it is.
Like we sort of spoke about earlier, there's a lot of tee shots where if you, the trouble is quite wide, so there is a big landing area. If you hit a bad one, yes, you'll get punished, but at the same time, with there's no wind today and the greens being as good as everyone's saying they are, then if you hit it close, you've got a great chance of holding the putts and making a few birdies.
Alrighty, well, let's go back to 18. That man there in your picture, Matthew Miller, he played the WGC HSBC Championship in China just a few weeks ago. It was the second WGC Championship that he's played this season, courtesy of his runner-up placing at the Order of Merit here in Australia last year. And I'll tell you what, it's very, very handy being able to get in those tournaments financially as well, because if you get in those fields, even if you come last, you could shoot 100 every round. Last place, $45,000 US. So basically, you finish in the top 2 on the Order of Merit here, and I was talking to Zach Murray about this earlier, it's an extra minimum $100,000 US in your pocket, really.
Yeah, and no one would say no. No one would say no to that at all. And I guess it also, you get to go over and you're competing against the best guys in the world, so it sort of shows you where your game's at. And
which flag, buddy? From the green?
it's never a bad thing.
No, well, you
come home and work on that. And
well, Matty was telling me he played with Dustin Johnson a few weeks ago in China at that tournament, and he said, you know, it was just chalk and cheese, his game compared to Dustin's, but it's great for someone like Matty, even still learning at his age, at the age of 43, parts of his game that he has to work on. And he even said that, you know, someone like Dustin Johnson can learn a lot from Matthew Miller, who's a grinder and gets the most out of his game.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't say that they're similar players in the fact that Matty finds a way to get it done. He always has, and Dustin, obviously, as we know and we see so much, it's all about he's so long off the tee and he's pitching so good and he's a ball striker, but I think everyone can learn something off Matty.
Totally, yeah, no question. I mean, I have nothing but the most respect and admiration for someone like Matty Miller's game, because, you know, not only has he been at it for years and been one of the most consistent players out here, but he's not a long hitter. His technique is all of his own, but he's had the, you know, the mental fortitude and the mental toughness to, you know, not listen to anybody. Just he knows what works for him and he'll stick to it. And I think that's a lesson for everyone out there, every aspiring professional and young professional.
And very mentally strong as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, he's a long way back over on the right mound here on 18. This is close to 200 metres with this shot. Coming in with a hybrid.
Probably hits the straightest hybrid on tour.
Just coming up short of the bunker. Actually, not too bad a spot there if you're going to miss the green. Plenty of green to work with. Won't have that tier to contend with either.
And we just speak about how good his short game is, so wouldn't be surprised at all if he got that one up and down.
On his way to that second placing in the Order of Merit here last year, he had 8 top 5s throughout the season here in Australia, including that win at the Rebel Sports Masters. Okay, Nick Vogt. You mentioned before, James, that he had 3 wins in China. You've been playing up there the last year. Have you had much to do with Nick?
I played practice round with Nick when he came back before going to an event in Korea, and just sort of asked him a little bit about it, and he just said that played really good. He only played a couple of events, got hot, and like winning 3 times in 5 or 6 events is pretty incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Most guys are happy to win twice in a year, so to do it in that such a short time span, and especially when towards the end, like the last event that he won, that it was a web card, or which is now a Corn Ferry card up for grabs, so to do it when the pressure was on.
Well, that's the ball positioning of Michael Sim. Been pretty aggressive with the driver here at 18. That is a big tee shot down the right-hand side.
You played a lot with Simmy?
Yeah, I played a lot with Michael. I was living in Scottsdale, Arizona for a couple of years, where Michael still has a house, and I've just always been super impressed with his game. He has such a wonderful golf swing. He's one of those players that makes every aspect of the game look so easy when he's on. Going a little bit left of the flag, is it? No, it was straight over it. Just a little deep. Outside chance for a birdie. I mentioned that career year he had back in 2009. He actually played with Tiger Woods the final round of the US Open at Bethpage Black in New York. He was in about the 3rd or 4th last group. Finished tied for 18th, which is a pretty good effort, especially with those crowds there in New York being so pro-Tiger. It would have been very, very difficult to concentrate. But he had a few lean years, Michael Sim. Makes his home on the Gold Coast now. He's a father, wife Simone. Seems very content.
And obviously still playing some good golf as well.
Yeah, played a lot of golf with Michael. He was in the WA junior team at the age of 12 or 13 alongside his good mate Rick Kulaks as well. And you could see that they were both going to be future superstars. In fact, back in 2009, on that Corn Ferry tour, Michael Sim earned $644,000 US that year, which is to this day a record by over $100,000. And he didn't even play a full season because he was out on the PGA Tour by August, courtesy of his 3 wins.
It's incredible.
Oh, it's absolutely insane. He had 8 top 10s in that period. Mentioned he got to number 36 in the world. He actually has one of the real hard luck stories. Not only did he have that great 2009, early in 2010 he was runner-up at the Farmers Insurance Open at Torrey Pines on the PGA Tour. And courtesy of his high world ranking, that earned him a start at Augusta in the Masters. And hurt his back about 2 weeks before it, wasn't able to play, and unfortunately hasn't ever been able to tee it up in the Masters.
Yeah, that would, I guess, so many of us dream of going through the gates at Augusta, and that would be such a hard decision to make. That.
Okay, been touting Matthew Miller's quality short game. Don't let us down, Matty. Plenty of green to work with.
Soft hands. Like, he has very, very soft hands. How close?
Well, I think if he doesn't get this within 4 or 5 feet, he certainly will be very disappointed. I'd be shocked if it isn't within 4 or 5 feet. Club face very open. He does have a bit of green to work with. He's trying to fly it most of the way up there. I'm going to give that 5 feet. It's probably 6, but I don't want to be wrong, so I'm going to call that 5 feet.
It's a pretty good chip. And then very, very soft. Nick's got a pretty hard putt down where Max McArdle was a little bit earlier. But Maxi made it look pretty easy as well, so...
Yeah. Well, Max McArdle is a fantastic putter. So is Nick Vogt. He actually, you mentioned he had his 3 wins in China. That earned him a card to play on the Corn Ferry Tour this year. Only had 1 top 15. Lost his card. He really struggled over there in the US this year, Nick Vogt. But so far he's gotten through the second stage of the Corn Ferry qualifying tournament over there in the US. So he has the final stage coming up in a couple of weeks' time. He'll be looking to play his way back out there again next season. Hopefully learn from his rookie campaign out there. Right, someone's got to hold this. It's a very, very difficult putt, but this is the 4th or 5th one we've seen here since our coverage has come on. But by the time the day is out, someone is definitely going to make this. Will it be Nick Vogt? Oh. He was tracking, but he's left himself a little bit of work there for a 2-putt. You see the scoreboard. Matty Miller at 6 under par. Both Vogt and Sim 8 under par. Vogt and Sim inside the top 15.
They also started the day at 4 under as well, so...
Well, really, if you don't shoot 3 or 4 under par out here today, you're losing ground. Benign conditions. Greens are a little bit softer out there. No wind.
And a very, very, very strong field.
This is just a slightly longer version of the one that Brett Rankin hold. We know it's moving just a little bit to his right. Good roll from Michael Sim. That's going to be a par 4 and a round of 68 for the Western Australian.
Matty's putt's going to be down the hill a little left to right.
Yes, it will
pretty
be.
Straight.
Yeah, it should be a little bit left to right. Now you'll get a much better close-up look here of Matthew Miller's putting stroke. And believe me when I say he is a heck of a putter.
Yeah.
He's one of the best out here. You know, a lot of people when they putt, when they strike the putt, that ball actually gets airborne and skids for the first part of its journey. Matty Miller has this uncanny ability with his unique putting stroke to get the ball rolling end over end very, very quickly.
Do you back him in? Makes two of us.
Thank you for not letting us down, Matthew Miller, but you really got a great indication there of both things that I was talking about.
Yep.
One, the unique putting action, but just how quickly and how beautifully that ball
Yep.
rolls on top of the putting surface.
Nick here to clean up for par.
Uphill should be a right edge putt. This for a round of 68.
Keep inside the top 20.
Oh, not the finish you were looking for at all there. A 3-putt bogey at 18. It's a solid round, 69, but certainly going to leave a bitter taste in the mouth.
Especially seeing how the second shot got so close to getting up on that top tier.
.25-year-old New Zealander, 35-year-old Western Australian, and a 43-year-old Canberran. Been touching on the subject of the players, the varying age brackets that we're seeing here. You know, Elvis Smiley, 17-year-old, Dave McKenzie, who's 52, and certainly seeing good examples of the diversity. Back to 17. And the par 3. This is the group of Nick Cullen, Jai Picken, New South Wales amateur, and Brodie Martin. First on the tee will be the 2014 Australian Masters champion, man from South Australia who makes his home in Atlanta, Georgia these days. He's been competing on the European Tour. The lefties, twin brother Dan actually played cricket for Australia back in 2011.
The bunker that Nick hit to get up and down to win was incredible.
18 at Metropolitan there, yeah, front left bunker coming up the tier. Well, this is a tougher pin for Nick over on the left-hand side. He's got to actually hit a little fade in there.
Good round going.
Yeah, he certainly does. 10 under par. You can see the ball moving in there. Has he overdone it? He has. But that's all right. It's not a bad miss. It's actually very holeable from there, isn't it?
Yep. Just depends how it's sitting on the fringe or the fairway there. Up next, Jai Picken from Charlestown.
Big boy, Jai Picken.
Strong boy too.
How old is he?
.19. Part of the Golf New South Wales high performance and state men's team.
Having a rough day today, all the way back, 1 under par.
I'll back him in to hit one close here. Loves a little draw.
Right, come on, we've got to see a second ace. Aaron Townsend, of course, with the first one.
Coached by Ryan Smith up at...
Oh, come on. Wonderful shot from Jai Picken.
It's a great shot in there.
No, they just know a camera's there. They want to show off.
Well, they know that we've said that they're going to hit a good shot and they want to prove us right.
Brodie Martin, the 23-year-old from WA. I played with Brodie 3 weeks ago down in the Gippsland region. Very, very solid player. He moves the ball left to right, so this is going to be a difficult pin for him over on the left-hand side. Starting at right. Is it coming back? It doesn't look like it. Well, it's not too bad a shot. 20 feet right of the flag. Outside chance of a birdie.
It's just because Jai's in there so tight, it doesn't look as good as it actually is.
Those players will make their way up to the 17th green. A little disappointing the last couple of years from Nick Cullen. I really thought he was going to kick on after that Australian Masters victory. He'd won a Queensland Open prior to that. He'd won on the One Asia Tour up in Indonesia, but he's just found the going a little bit tough playing over in Europe. Certainly a lot of travel from his home base in Atlanta.
It's a very different climate as well. Atlanta, where it's
yeah.
hot is an understatement.
Oh, there's some spectators out there following around. We've got a few certainly following the last couple of groups. I expect there to be a lot more out here tomorrow.
Yeah, you can come and walk along the fairways. No ropes, obviously, so creates a great atmosphere.
Well, you've got so many players here who have won tournaments on the European Tour, the US PGA Tour, who have played President's Cups. Great opportunity to come out and walk the fairways with such a illustrious list of players. Now, this group on the 18th, you've got Corey Crawford, Denzel Iramia, and Dimi Papadatos himself. Denzel Iramia, highly touted young New Zealander, turned professional just over 12 months ago.
Former Cyclone. A couple of them in the field. Nick and Ruben.
Iowa State, yeah, Nick, Ruben, Denzel. I believe, trying to think off the top of my head, there's a young, you would know him, but someone's just signed up with Iowa State to go there very, very recently.
It is a lot of Australians do go there.
And it's actually quite interesting how that happens. I know when I first turned professional back in the early 2000s, and the University of Minnesota had the same thing, and to me it was bizarre because, you know, in Australia we have a warm climate. You can play 12 months of the year. Over there you can only play 6 months of the year, but they won an NCAA title, so they're doing something right.
Facilities are pretty amazing. The boosters certainly give the students some great facilities, especially in the cold when they've got I'm pretty sure the boys had a big dome and they could hit full shots outside, and they had a massive chipping green and putting green inside.
Well, you got a good look here at what Denzel Iramia is facing, and although he's coming from you call the first cut of rough, he's chosen the putter. The rough virtually non-existent out here because they've had such a lack of precipitation over the last couple of months. But Mark Hensby just earlier wasn't in too dissimilar a position, and it should move just a little bit from his left to right.
Obviously going the putter because it is on the downslope, and you can get the ball rolling as soon as possible.
Oh, come on, go. Well, he had the line right. He was fourth just a couple of months ago at the Asia Pacific Diamond Cup in Japan. Denzel Iramia.
Yeah, had it going that week as well. Corey Crawford here, who's up in Sunshine Coast. Very similar line to Denzel. I'd probably back him into seeing the line from Denzel, and wouldn't be surprised if this has a great chance of going in. Playing in the CGA Tour in China. Some contention there a couple of weeks ago in the Challenge Tour event. Pretty good putt. It's hung out there a bit longer than he thought it would. Tidy's up there.
Winner of the PNG Open back in 2017. He was tied third at the Vic Open last year. He's a tidy player, Corey Crawford.
Tidy dress as well.
Tidy dress, yes, he
Very
is.
schmick.
Dimi Papadatos, 7 under par the first round. Things just haven't quite been happening for him since. Unfortunately, just missing on the low side. He was a runner-up at the Australian Open last year, Dimi. Played at Royal Portrush in his first major championship this year. Actually got to play one hole with Tiger Woods in that practice round. I was there with him. He played alongside Jake McLeod. Pretty special moment.
Comedian, or Dimi.
He certainly is. All right, Iramia, par putt. Well done.
A couple more pars. We've seen a lot of that hitting it to around 20 to 30 feet. And
let's have a look at how things stand right now. Justin Warren. Well, I'll tell you what, Andrew Dote's course record, 11 under par, 61, is in serious jeopardy here. Justin Warren, 9 under par for the round. He has a 2-stroke lead at 18 under par. 2 shots ahead of Travis Smythe and Min Woo Lee. And they're sort of, well, they're just showing their clean pair of heels at the moment. They've sort of separated themselves from the pack a little bit. Andrew Dote, 1 over par for the round. Back at 13 under par alongside Josh Younger. Let's have a look at some of the highlights from the first hour of play that we've seen on our coverage today. He's a very, very solid player. 7th cut he's made this season out of 9 tournaments. Right at the flag, trying to turn it in a little bit from right to left. We know that this look at this one. I said he'd birdie it. Could it be one better? It can! That was never missing, man. 38-year-old from Newcastle. Look at that. Thank you.
yeah, there we go.
Yeah,
bit of emotion.
Aaron. Love it. It's Journey.
Is this you? Is this me?
Good. Oh, look at this roll. That was Jordan Mullaney playing alongside Aaron Townsend, the ace man at 17, alongside his playing partner, Tom Tower Horan. Also just cleaning up there. It's not easy to play alongside someone who's just made a hole in one right in front of you, making par and losing by 2 strokes on the hole. But Mullaney, this was his 2nd shot into 18. Hit an iron off the tee and got it out there. It's good 260, 265 metres. Beautiful shot in. This was for a beautiful birdie to finish his round. He had a top 10 last month at the Victorian PGA. Aaron Townsend coming off that ace at 17 for a birdie at 18. Not to be for the Novocastrian, but a round of 69. He's at 7 under par. Brett Rankin, haven't seen too many birdies here at 18. But he was certainly able to do one better there than most. Round of 66, he gets to 10 under par. The Territory PGA champion. Max McArdle had a good round today. That was a 67. He's at 9 under par. Well, we've had a few guests here in studio today. The next one, Michael Sim. How are you, Michael?
Good, you? Yourself?
Very well, thank you. You've been playing some pretty good golf lately, haven't you?
I have. Obviously, the win over there at WA Open was nice, and a 3rd place either side. WA PGA at Kalgoorlie and the Vic PGA. So, yeah, been winning some nice rounds together lately.
We saw you out there the last couple of holes, and I was waxing lyrical about your career, really from 2006 through to 2010. Obviously, a few leaner years ensued. So, what's been the recipe recently for that good form?
Yeah, I'm not really sure. I mean, it's certainly not the tournament play. I think I've only played 5 or 6 this year, along with the Q School a couple of weeks ago. But I'm not sure. Maybe just a balance of life with, my wife Simone and little boy Jaden, and just enjoying life and seem to be playing good golf alongside of that.
Well, on that note, when you were doing so well over there in the United States 10 years ago, I mean, I guess all of us, to some extent, are selfish. Playing the game of golf, you really put yourself first and your career first. You've just mentioned that, work-life balance. How are your goals now versus back then? Obviously, you want to get back out on a major tour globally, but with the family in tow, what are the aspirations now?
Yeah, well, obviously, I started my bridging program probably about April this year. So I've been doing that. I've enjoyed that. Sort of doing some pro shop hours down there at Burleigh and. Just started doing some teaching, so I tried Japan 2 weeks ago and missed out by a stroke. So, yeah, it's just sort of come back and try and reset some goals here for the end of the year. But, I'm not too sure exactly where my international career is sort of heading playing-wise. As I said, I just haven't been playing enough golf and missing Q School the last 3 years. So, it's obviously it's a hard road to get on a tour, and, you can see the strength of field here we got this week that it shows you how hard it is to get on an international tour.
Do you feel like the depth of golf over the last 10, 15 years has improved a lot?
Yeah, I think looking at the scores from like web.com, I don't think the actual score winner's score has changed. It's more so, like you said, the depth, and I think the cut sort of moves maybe 1 or 2 shots better, and that top 25 is definitely a lot stronger. So you're seeing guys that go out in the PGA Tour now that who have been on the web, and they're sort of contending straight away. I mean, look at what Brendan Todd's done, and Joel Darman and Nate Lashley. I mean, these guys are web.com gateway tour players. So it's great to see, and I think it's great for the game worldwide to see how strong the fields are.
You referenced Brendan Todd. Isn't that just an incredible story, what he's done? I mean, he was a winner on the PGA Tour in 2014. I mean, prior to that, he was a winner on the web.com tour. Then got to the PGA Tour, kind of lost his game. Somehow got back to the PGA Tour, won, almost made a Ryder Cup, then just fell off the face of the earth for 2 or 3 years, couldn't break 80. And here he is, he won 2 events in a row, almost 3.
Incredible story.
Yeah.
I mean, for anyone who's played professional golf and to lose your game and come back and not only play well, but to go out on the biggest stage off the PGA Tour and win is just incredible.
Okay, well, we'll go back to the 17th green, the par 3. This is Queenslander Christopher Wood. 69, 68 the first 2 rounds. This is a birdie putt. Just missing on the low side there. We went out and filmed a piece earlier there, Michael, on 17, and both myself and James Grierson predicted a hole-in-one there today with that flag. Aaron Townsend, one of the first players we saw in our coverage, straight in the middle.
Yeah, I hit a nice shot in there, and it just didn't really quite bounce up the green. I think they watered the green slightly overnight, and the ball was sort of seemed to be spinning and holding on the greens a bit more today than it was yesterday. So I think that's why you're continuing to see the low numbers out there.
Jason Norris just cleaning up there. I played with Jason the first couple of rounds. 47 years of age now, but still very, very solid. This man, Dean Lawson, he was a runner-up earlier this year at the Queensland PGA. He went over to play the European Tour. Normally a very consistent player, but he missed 13 cuts this season. Very unusual. Not easy to go and play a tour, though, overseas your first year out, is it?
No, it's not. I mean, he would have gone over there and gone to Europe and travelled all around and maybe gone to Africa and Asia, and he probably would have been by himself a lot. So it would have been a learning curve for him, and I think I spoke to him earlier this week. He's going to go and play some Challenge Tour next year, and he's pretty eager to get back on the main circuit.
Well, let's go back to the 18th. Nick Cullen's found the fairway bunker over here on the right-hand side, and it's not surprising that he's found the sand. There is so much of it out here. Coming off a par at 17, he's 10 under. Another man who's struggled in Europe this season. Well, you could certainly say he's quite fidgety over the ball, Nick Cullen, but very, very solid ball striker. And he's found the greenside trap there. That's going to be a very difficult bunker shot. Played much with Nick?
I played a bit of golf with him amateur-wise. We're similar age, so not too much as a professional. Obviously, he's been living in America now, and like you said, he's been playing in Europe, so I haven't played too much golf with him lately.
The second shot of the New South Wales amateur, Jai Picken. Struggling today. Started at 5 under par, so 4 over par on his round. Certainly a good experience, though, coming out here and playing against quite a few experienced professionals and players with incredible resumes. Talking earlier how Peter Lonard, Mark Hensby, President's Cup players. You've got players who have won on the US PGA Tour, the Corn Ferry Tour, the European Tour, and there's multiple players that have done that. So to be out here competing amongst those players for a 17-year-old or an 18-year-old, wonderful experience.
Yeah, it certainly is. I remember playing WA Opens at home at 15, 16 years old, so I don't think it gets much better than mixing your game with the pros.
Brodie Martin from WA, second shot. Actually hit it a little left to right. Should be a good flag for Brodie. It was all over it. I've seen a few players just go a little deep there at 18.
Yeah, I did exactly the same thing maybe 15 minutes ago. I just shot straight over the flag, and I thought the wind was a bit off right, maybe a touch in, and I think I got it wrong. And once you get over the hill there on 18, you're sort of on that downslope, so maybe that takes a couple of degrees off your pitching wedge or your 9-iron and flights the ball in there a little bit lower. So probably not surprised to see guys hitting past the flag there.
We'll go back to the tee. Jason Norris, he was a winner of the Fiji International back in 2017. Earned him a European Tour card for last season. Been playing up in Asia this year. It's been a bit of a struggle. Struggle today too, a couple over par in his round. Really looks like he hangs back on it a lot, Jason Norris, but hits it very straight typically.
Yep, there you go, right down the middle.
We've seen a lot of really, really good tee shots today on 18, but that's not an easy tee shot.
I think today, with the wind off the right, it certainly helps. I know yesterday morning when I came through at 9 o'clock, there was no wind, and it certainly felt harder to turn the ball over, especially with that big tree straight off the tee on the left.
Dean Lawson, the Victorian, but he makes his home on the Gold Coast. Do you play much with Dean when you're home?
Not too much. Yeah, I mean, he hasn't been home too much, obviously, this season playing in Europe, so I know that he does most of his practice down there at Surfers Paradise.
Well, the third member, Christopher Wood, 1 under par on his round, 8 under for the tournament. Been playing up in China this season. 28-year-old. He's had 4 top 5s in Australia, but looking for that breakthrough victory. And if it's going to be tomorrow, I'll have to shoot about 58, 59 the way things are going.
Should that be the same for me?
Yep. What are you at?
-8.
You've got 59 in you.
Well, I mean, Andrew shot 61 yesterday morning, and we haven't seen Justin Warren yet, but I think he just said he was 9 under par, so that's great playing out there, it really is.
Certainly. Have you had a 59 before?
No, my lowest is 61 at Lakelands at home, and my lowest round on tour is 62.
Very impressive. Very, very impressive. Actually, again, I mentioned it before, 2009, you had 3 wins that year.
Yep.
You made, if I'm not mistaken, $644,000 that season on tour. It's still a record by, I don't know, 100 grand or something, but you only played like 2/3 of the season.
Yeah, I played like 14 tournaments, so I had a nice schedule there, and it was really set up by the events in Australia as well. Like I can't remember the exact tournaments, but I think we might have the Johnny Walker here and Muna Links. Yeah, you might have won that one, did you?
Yeah. Yeah, found, what do they call it, a blind squirrel finds an acorn every once in a while. That was me that week.
Yeah, and then I think we might have jumped across to New Zealand and might have played Clearwater and possibly the Hills too. So it was a great stepping stone for all the Australians, and there was many Australians that got on the tour that way. And
yeah, it's actually interesting you mentioned that. I mean, Aaron Price, Mark Leishman, Paul Sheehan, Ewan Walters, Gavin Coles, David Luderis, myself,
Flanagan.
All ones that, and yourself.
Yeah, Flanagan, probably Steve Bowditch, I think.
Bowder, yep, won in 2005, yeah.
It was a great pathway for, us up-and-coming players 10, 15 years ago, so.
Yeah, I remember that. 2006, it was the Jacobs Creek Open at Royal Adelaide. Myself, you, I don't know if Nick Flanagan was the third, someone else. We played together the first 2 rounds. You ended up finishing runner-up to Paul Sheehan that week, wasn't it?
Paul Sheehan won the playoff, yep, so we went 2-hole playoff, and I hit my, I remember I hit my tee shot out of bounds, the internal out of bounds over there on the right. So.
All right, Brody Martin, this for a birdie at 18. Brett Rankin holed this putt earlier. That would have been in 2 if it was a foot harder. Can't blame the green, Brody. They're pretty good out here.
Yeah, I think the greens are rolling tremendous. I mean, there's not too many putts you hit inside sort of 10 feet that you feel like you hit a good putt. It's pretty much going to go in. So. It hasn't been too much wind this week either to sort of worry about your green reading, but
Two to play on the 8.
yeah, I think they're rolling great, and it's a great, probably a similar speed to what we'll probably see next week.
Nick Cullen, this is a par putt. What's this one going to do?
Should move a little from his left to right, I would say.
Oh. Just sliding by. Disappointing finish. That's going to drop him back to 9 under. Well, he was 10 under playing that hole. I think he went from bunker to bunker, so we'll just clarify that score. The amateur Jai Pickin. This birdie putt to get to 2 under par. This for a round of 75. Slow putt up the hill. Well, you were right about it breaking right. Well, Australian Open next week at the Australian Golf Club. Like your chances there?
It's certainly a course I probably haven't played too well at. I always go there thinking you've got to hit the ball really well, but the more I think about it, it's a tough course to find greens in regulation, especially that tournament. We don't play soft conditions, so I think it's got a lot to do with course management there. It's quite open off the tee, and I think if you can manage the ball from with your irons into the green and leave the ball in the right spots, you've always got a chip or, you know, a putt at birdie. So I think it's more of a strategy course, second shot.
I've got to show these blokes.
Well, you mentioned that they play in firmer conditions. As we look at James Marcassani cleaning up for a par here at 17. The greens here, especially the first 2 rounds, that was some of the hardest I've played in a long time. Is that good preparation for next week?
Absolutely. I think obviously this course is probably a little bit shorter, and that's probably why you've seen the scores so low. But yeah, anytime the greens can get firm and you got a big tournament the week after, I think it's a bonus. So yeah, I mean, looking forward to next week. It's like I said, it's going to be firm and fast conditions. They got an amazing field down there, so it's going to be great for the spectators, and obviously for the President's Cup the week after. So it's a great 4 weeks they got starting here at the New South Wales Open.
Well, this man was runner-up here last year at Twin Creeks. Young Cameron John. He's 20 years old from Victoria. 7 top 10s he's had the last 2 years. Hits the ball a long way. As does everyone now, I guess.
Yeah, I just played 18 holes with Nick Folk, and he moved the ball pretty well. I think he said he swings around about 116, 118. But the guy behind, I think his name's Denzel.
Oh, Denzel Iramia, yeah.
We're putting on 7, he drove the green.
7.
The par 4 up over the hill.
It's 340 or 50 metres uphill.
Yeah, it was on the green. So you're right, guys are hitting the ball.
That's ridiculous.
A long way now.
Well, Jake Higginbottom, he's at 11 under par. He's got a good round going. 4 under for the day. This to get to 12 under par. Very steady player, Jake. Runner-up in this as an amateur about 7 years ago. Won the New Zealand Open as an amateur. Really just sort of been treading water up in Asia the last couple of years. Consistent play, but I think we all expected a little bit more from Jake. Go!
We've seen that putt a couple of times there in the last 20 minutes, just sort of breaking low and left. Maybe Aaron Townsend stole the hole.
That was incredible. It was never missing that one. Cameron John cleaning up for par here at 17, just a left centre putt. Well done. Tough day though, 3 over par, certainly not just going backwards in score but in positions. Well, Michael Sim, thank you very much for taking the time out of your afternoon to join us here. And I know you won the Australian Order of Merit back in 2009. You've done well the last few weeks, and looking forward to seeing your name on the leaderboard the next few weeks. You think you can replicate that feat of 2009?
I think I'm a long way behind Ryan Fox, so I think he's got me by 240 grand. So
a win will overtake him.
It will, but he'll be playing too, I'd imagine. I'm sure he's in the field next week, and definitely the Aussie PGA. So I'll just go out there and do my best and see what happens.
Well, it's great to see you in form again, Michael Sim. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Back out to the 18th green. The trio of Jason Norris, Christopher Wood and Dean Lawson. Just looking at Christopher Wood's physique there as James Grierson joins us back in commentary here. So many stronger looking players now. Just physically stronger. You saw Jacob Boyce before. I know we've spoken about it a couple of times, but you know, players that certainly wouldn't look out of position in a rugby team. Yeah, no question. I mean, everyone always hears about Gary Player sort of being the trendsetter when it comes to fitness, but the first one that I remember really sort of having an athlete's body was Greg Norman when he was playing, and back then he had his shirt on. Today it tends to be off most of the time, but he was sort of the trendsetter when it came to doing weights. Nick Faldo, not far behind him, he had that real V shape, but it was certainly when Tiger came along, he was the one that showed that you could still play very good golf and bench press 100 kilos. Christopher Wood, another player coming up short from that position there at 18. Eight under par, the Queenslander. Jason Norris in the same position coming up the hill. Moving a little bit from his right to left. He's won 4 times on the Australasian PGA Tour, Jason Norris. Belies his age, 47 years old, but still fit. Still very, very solid. Dean Lawson. Looks like all 3 players here, James, have left their approach shots short of this tier. And we're seeing nearly every player struggle with the speed.
Yeah, obviously it's a pretty difficult putt. Dane's obviously got to see the other 2 guys coming up the hill, so he'll have a pretty good view / he's seen what's happened, so let's see if he can get it a bit closer than the other boys.
Cross-handed method. Here we go, he's got the speed better.
Speed.
Oh!
I thought that was the one holing it for the day.
It's the best lag we've seen from down there. Dean Digger Lawson. One of few players who do their traineeships now. We did that at Kerr Lewis down in Victoria.
Yeah, come through, and actually back on hole-in-ones he had 2 last year.
Yeah.
He had one in South Africa this time last year.
And his other one was Qatar, was it?
Yeah.
I know he won a BMW for South Africa. Qatar?
Yeah.
Did he win anything?
Don't.
You know who did in Qatar?
Who?
Jake McLeod.
True.
He won it was either 140 or 155,000 US dollars to spend in duty free, and ended up getting the cash for it. That helps out, doesn't it? He basically earned the 2nd or 3rd place check that week from one shot.
How's the tax go with that?
I'm not sure. No idea.
Just come through with a couple of bags
in an offshore account.
Is Woody here to clean up for par?
Yeah, good roll. Good putt. Good way to finish.
Another guy that played in China this year.
Yep. Yeah, a lot of them. There's a couple of tours up there, isn't there? A couple of different ones.
Yeah, there's one that Maverick Ancliffe should win this. Well, he is playing in this week, which he should. I'm pretty sure it's impossible for him to not win the Auto Merit, which would give him a full European Tour card, just like Jake got last year for the winners category. And then there's one that is on the same as the Mackenzie Tour and Latin America, which obviously we said Nick finished up there on the Auto Merit last year and got some status on the Corn Ferry.
Good 2-putt from Dean Lawson. 9 under par for the championship. Pretty consistent. 69, 69, 69.
Back him in for another one tomorrow.
Well, that's how it stands right now. Justin Warren, 18 under par. He's one stroke ahead of Min Woo Lee. How would you be Min Woo Lee? 13 under par at the start of the day, 4 under for the day, and he's not leading. That's incredible.
It is, but I guess he'd also be... That's Saturday afternoon, it's not...
So look, there's 10 players on that leaderboard. They are a combined, out of those 10 players, 46 under par for the round. That is absolutely incredible.
AV Jennings design communities where there's plenty of parks, pathways and playing fields for kids to have some fun. And it's not just kids. An active lifestyle is good for all of us. It's why thousands of people make their home in an AV Jennings community every year.
Back to 17. The second man bun here at Twin Creeks. One of them's next to me, James Grierson. Now this is Travis Smythe.
Back him in for a little draw in there. I'm going to say he hits it pretty close.
Well, it's not on the green, but that's very, very holeable.
Very. Especially with Smythe's short game.
Yeah, we saw Nick Cullen there not too long ago. Travis Smythe playing some sensational golf, not just today, but this week, 15 under par. He was tied for 11th here in his professional debut back in 2017. I played with him the first 2 rounds that week. Seriously impressive.
Yeah, and then he went on to... I'm pretty sure he come tied 10th at the Aussie
Top
Open.
10, he did.
That was it. That was at the Aussie again, and then I actually caddied for him up at the PGA, and he come, pretty sure it was tied 16th. So his first 3 events, he had a pretty good start, and then he come 3rd at Asian Tour Score final stage, and then obviously he's been playing in Asia the last 2 years as well. So
yeah,
he's actually in a position next week where he has to go to Mauritius instead of playing Aussie Open to keep his card for Asia. So
really,
yeah, he's 58 at the moment, so he was on the fence what he was going to do, but obviously having a full status in Asia opens up a lot of opportunities, especially going with European Tour as well.
Yeah, I mean, especially when you're, here's Jake Higginbottom's second shot here at 18, especially when you're a New South Welshman, you've got the national championship in your home city, really, at a golf course you know so well. Yeah. It's hard to give that up, but certainly thinking more longer term is Travis Smythe. Jake Higginbottom. Oh, goodness, his heart would have been in his mouth there, but he's avoided a watery grave.
Probably is the hardest thing with that bunker shot is that if you're going to miss it, usually with a bunker shot, it's a little bit fat, so the wind off the right, it can drift over pretty close, but we just saw Matty Miller get up and down from over there, so we'll see what Jake can do.
He's got a fantastic short game, Jake Higginbottom. He's another player who played pennants at the Australian Golf Club. He'll be chomping at the bit with the Aussie Open returning there next week. He was 6th back in 2014. James Marcassani now. Second shot. 18.
It's a little fade, so and he sits up pretty nicely for him.
Such a smooth golf swing. Oh, what a cracking golf shot. James Marcassani, an opportunity there for a round of 70 to get to 9 under par. Very consistent, James Marcassani. He was 4th in Gippsland just 3 weeks ago.
Sums up a professional, everything he does.
His father Frank played the VFL, AFL for Fitzroy. Brother Andrew, also a professional golfer. Anthony, excuse me.
Cameron John, who obviously likes it here, come second here last year. Ball striker.
Yeah, he's a good player. It's a long way. Still only 20 years of age.
I reckon it's his tee shot.
That would be his tee shot. Yeah, that is a big, big tee shot from Cameron John.
And no Bushnell.
Old school. Be an interesting tournament, wouldn't it? Where if you removed all yardage plates and yardage markers and yardage books and weren't able to use rangefinders, you just had to go off by sight, everything.
How do you reckon you go?
I think I would go all right because I've never owned a rangefinder and I always go off sprinkler heads. I would go all right. But, you know, you think about it, you play a comp game at your home club, you don't have a yardage book. up until maybe a couple of years ago, you never ever used a rangefinder.
Yeah.
So I think you'd adjust pretty quickly.
Dad seems really good at that. Used to annoy me. How far you got? Maybe like 133. What have you got? 130. Shake your head.
Well, that's a good look at Cameron John and what he's facing into 18. That is an absolutely ginormous tee shot. I mean, this hole's 402 metres.
You got 80, 90 metres.
Oh, well, the flag's up the back too, so you're looking at 410, 415.
Yeah. He
does not have more than 80 metres in here, so if my maths is correct, that's about a 330 metre tee shot. 365, 370 yards. Certainly advantageous being that far up. Good looking shot.
Might be a little bit disappointed with that one. He would have taken a bit more advantage of that.
Cameron John, disappointing day. Perhaps a little frustration in that tee shot. 3 over par for the round. He's still smiling.
Cameraman's obviously loving the caddy. Oh, he's loving the camera, sorry.
No, he's not here. He's not here.
Trav, it's pretty good if he's got legs.
Why don't we watch these guys cut out and then okay.
Solid par.
Good par there for Travis Meiser. He's at 15 under. 3 strokes behind our leader. Playing alongside Justin Warren and Michael Pearce. Justin Warren, what a round he has going. 9 under par for the day. He shot 8 under day 1 with a bogey on the final hole. Slipped up, somewhat yesterday with a round of 71 in relation to the scoring for the rest of the field, but certainly got things back on track here today. This to go 10 under par for the round. No, you cannot leave that short. What a day though. 9 under. Par at last for a round of 63. In position for his first PGA Tour of Australasia title. We'll go back up to 18. The trio of Jake Higginbottom, Cameron John and James Marcassani. Well, Cameron John, ridiculously long tee shot, 330 metres. Only had a flick lob wedge in hand. But he's hit it where we've seen a lot of players up the back part of this green here at 18. It's very easy to leave it short, and coming back down the tier, leave yourself a very difficult 2-putt. So players very aware of that, and perhaps just overcompensating a little bit. And a downhill left to right putt. That's a good roll. It's going to break a little bit to his right. Well, good try there from Cameron John. We've got another guest in the studio, Matthew Miller. Thank you very much for giving up your time and coming in here and chatting to me.
Thanks, boss. Yeah, good to come in and watch some good golf here, obviously, and have a chat with you, yeah.
How's it been this week?
Yeah, it's been okay for me. Probably not my best work. I haven't had my best work most of the year, to be honest, but it's close. There's some good signs there, some good shots in there, but probably just a couple of scrappy ones here and there. And, I had 2 bogeys on par 5s today, which is not my usual thing, but I know my 2 bogeys for the day. Managed 2 under, so tidy that up, and you're probably not too far away.
Well, your consistency the last 2 or 3 seasons has been absolutely incredible. You had 8 top 5s last year, including a win. Second on the order of merit. You mentioned this year hasn't been your best golf. You were top 10 just a few weeks ago in Gippsland. Obviously playing okay this week, but what's the difference when you look back on what you've done this year versus years prior?
Yeah, I'd say definitely putting this year. I haven't putted as well as I have in the previous 3 or 4 seasons. You know, I feel like I'm not far away, and it's getting better as the year goes on. I feel like I'm putting better now. I'm not too far away with that, so hopefully I can finish with a bang. But yeah, just a little bit of execution here and there. Yeah, I mean, it's a funny game. Confidence is everything. When your confidence is up, you just follow on, don't you? I mean, it seems easy, but you get that little bit of doubt in there from time to time, and that doesn't help much at all. So, tidy that up as well, and we're on the right track.
There's a little more than time to time for me, unfortunately. Jake Higginbottom, this for a par at 18, this to finish at 11 under. Oh, great up and down from Jake Higginbottom. We'll go back to 17. This is our final trio. Min Woo Lee with his tee shot. Good player, this young fella, isn't he?
Wow. Yeah, lots and lots of ability. I mean, there's many of them out there now, but this kid is really good and a good lad too. Good to have a chat with him. Played with him a few years back, 4 years back, I think, and yeah, he was mature and but a fine player then. But I think he's obviously better now. Yeah, real talent.
Yeah, not easy. I guess I'm not in Min Woo Lee's shoes, but it can't be easy to follow in the footsteps of your sister, who is so highly regarded, number 2 in the world. A lot of pressure there.
Yeah, definitely. I think there'd be a lot of people, asking him, how's Minjee going? I mean, to do what he's done on the European Tour this year with, not that many starts, and then to finish the way he has, it's outstanding.
Josh Younger is at 14 under par, had that incredible first round in difficult conditions. 9 under par, 63. See, he's set up here for a little draw. Now he's backing away from it. A couple of flies. There are a lot of them out here. You mentioned the European Tour. You played on the European Tour from 2006, 2009. 43 years young now. What are the plans going forward? Have you got a Q school or anything that?
Yeah, I'm up to Japan tomorrow night. Final stage of Q school there in Japan. So unfortunately, I won't play the Open next week. Don't like to miss that, but I've got to think of a year instead of 1 week. So. I guess that's a bonus from finishing second on the Order Merit last year to get through to finals.
Oh, classy looking shot there from Josh Younger. Myself and James Grierson went out earlier today on 17 and just filmed a little piece out there. Looked at that flag and thought, we might see a 1 here today. Aaron Townsend,
did he?
Straight in.
Did he? Good on him. Wow. And where's the car, mate? I can't see. Is the car up for grabs there? No?
Unfortunately, nothing. No, just he was live streaming coverage of the New South Wales Open. He had me scream out of the top of my lungs when it went in.
That's good. Love it.
Well, Andrew Dote, one of the most difficult things to do in golf, following up a low round. You hear it all the time. He shot 61 yesterday. Unfortunately, even par today, just treading water.
It is. It's very difficult. I think the lower you go, it's not that you ever want to think there's only a quota out there that you're allowed to have, but the lower you go, it is very difficult. And you see it all the time. You see it on the PGA Tour as well.
Yep.
A guy might shoot 9, 8, 9, and backs out with even or 1 under, and he still played all right. But it's it can be quite difficult to follow that up.
Well, although he's not on the putting surface there at 17, certainly very makeable from the left fringe, coming straight up the hill. Good to see the crowds out following these players as well. And I know earlier this year I was actually watching the Pebble Beach Pro-Am. I was commentating at the Pebble Beach Pro-Am on the PGA Tour. And I was at a pub having a drink one evening, and on the television was the Victorian Open. And at the Victorian Open, I'm sitting there with my fellow commentators, and we're watching the Victorian Open coverage, and they were just fascinated and flabbergasted that you could walk along the fairway still with the players, and we saw people out there with their dogs. We saw Jordan Zunic with his dog out here today playing.
Is that right?
Yeah, but it's certainly, I think it's a real treat, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's one of those sports. I mean, we need to get people close. We need to get them in on the action. Feel like you're really there. And I mean, when you talk about that sort of thing, you've also got the the sponsors Pro-Am and, and then other Pro-Ams, that are played where people can play, with professionals. There's not many, fields, other sports where you can go and play with a professional. So, and the closer the people get to it, they get a better perspective on, what's happening and, where the ball is, is it lying well, is it lying above the player's feet, or, and all these things, and just get a, real good look from, say, behind Travis Smith here at what he faces. So, yeah, I mean, it's great to see that. We've got a couple of tournaments here and there on the tour where that's happening, so it's really good.
I feel like the European Tour have always been especially in the last few years, they've really been the pioneers and the trendsetters when it comes to being forward-thinking in the game. But certainly we're no slouches here in Australia. And as you said, I think when it comes to being conducive to getting more people involved in the game and participation levels across the board, I think you've got to be forward-thinking like that. Yeah, definitely. With the Super 6 format, and even PGA TV and so on, and many other formats that we're doing. It's great to be able to get, people who are at the event, get them involved, keep them involved, and people who maybe can't get to the event, they can see it. So. Yeah. All right, Travis Smythe, second shot, perfect angle here, left side of the fairway at 18. He's got a really, really good round going, 5 under par, currently in third place in this championship. Trying to hoist it in high. Oh, excellent shot from Travis Smythe. Opportunity there for a round of 66 to get to 16 under. He's a winner on the PGA Tour of Australasia. He actually won as an amateur. He did, Northern Territory. Another fine player that's come through the Golf New South Wales program, and finding his way in professional golf, and really good player and a good fella as well. This is Michael Pearce with his second shot here at 17. He's a member here, actually, Michael Pearce. Yeah. Good angle, left side of the fairway. Geez, we're seeing a lot more techniques these days across the world where it's steep and upright going back. What a shot there. And shallowing it out on the way down. Yeah, there is. There's a lot of there's a lot of different ways to do it. Mine's obviously dead textbook, Absolutely. Playing it's beautiful. I love it. Thought. Yeah. But no, there's a lot of that happening. It's many different styles and different teachers out there that teach a certain style. So back at 17, Andrew Dote, birdie putt, bounced on him a bit there. Andrew Dote was in the final group at the Victorian PGA last month. We were doing PGA TV down there, and it was tough to watch. He was struggling so much with the putter. I think he had 35 or 36 putts in that final round. I remember seeing a little bit of that when I finished. I was watching good mate Marcus Fraser there coming in, and I did remember seeing Doty miss a couple here and there that, ones he'd probably like to put away. So. But what a great ball striker. He plays some fantastic golf, week in, week out. He's a really good player. Minwoo Lee. This is a birdie putt here at the 17th. 17 under par. This to tie the lead with Justin Warren. Should move a little to his right. When they putt out, I'll say goodbye. Am I doing it now, or am I doing it after they putt? When, now or after the putt? Okay. Josh Younger. This to get to 15 under par. It's almost hard to comprehend it. He has 9 under par the first round. 2 under par yesterday. Good score. 3 under par today. Very solid. He's 4 behind. Yeah. Jeez. It's incredible scoring. I mean, I know the last 2 years when Jason Scrivener and Jake McLeod have won, they've both shot 20 under par or better, but That's just incredible scoring around.
Josh's round on Thursday I thought it was fantastic. It was a special round to shoot that number in those conditions. Good on him.
Beautiful birdie there, Josh Younger, 15 under par. Well, all these players are trying to do something, Matt, that you've done twice. Win on the PGA Tour of Australasia, and we thank you for your time. You know you've got a busy schedule, obviously going to Japan tomorrow night, but all the very best tomorrow and up there in Japan.
Yeah, thanks, Sports. Good on you. Thanks for having me.
Cheers, Matt. Well, let's get back out to that 17th green and see if Andrew Doak can clean up for a par. He does. Well, we saw the wonderful second shot of Travis Smythe here into 18. James Grierson's back with us. Is this going in? Yeah, Travis, good call, James Grierson. That gets him to 16 under par. Tell you what, we're going to have an exciting shootout tomorrow. Justin Warren at 18 under, Minwoo Lee, 17 under. Travis Smythe at 16. Josh Younger now 15 under par. Yeah, I played with Ricky Cato in this tournament about 4 years ago. Now, Justin Warren, he is 18 under. Remember, no, this is for a par. He did second shot over the back. He bogeyed 18 day one. This is to avoid the same fate here, but he misses this. He's really bringing a few players back into it. Unfortunate for Justin Warren. Round one, bogey's the last for 64. Round three, exactly the same. Bogey's it for 64 again, so he drops back to 17 under par. Couple of 64s at Twin Creeks. That's just, it's phenomenal. It's mind-blowing. Well, Michael Pearce this to finish with a birdie here at 18. Oh, disappointing. Very disappointing after such a classy second shot. What a tough day for Michael Pearce. A pair of 68s, first two rounds. That a 78. Well, back at the tee, Josh Younger coming off the birdie at 17. This is our last group. He's got 3 wood. Yeah, that's all right. Right side of the fairway. He was a runner-up back in 2014 at Metropolitan in the Australian Masters. Josh Younger. Well, we just saw the scoreboard there behind the 18th tee. Minwoo Lee at 18 under par. I was under the impression he was 17 under. So he is now the outright leader. $18 under, 17 under. Well, you've got 4 players within 3 strokes of the lead. Well, hang on. Now we're seeing Minwoo Lee at 17 under in the top left, but 18 under. We need to get some clarification here. And we're seeing Josh Younger at 16 under on the board as well. So I'm going to go with the walking scorer. Let's go with the walking scorer. Minwoo Lee is 18 under. Justin Warren has finished at 17. Travis Smythe, Josh Younger, 16. 4 players within 2 shots of the lead. Gee, that's a beautiful golf swing. It is so smooth. Effortless power in that golf swing. I'm assuming that golf ball is going to be past that bunker. We've seen players a long way down there on these firm fairways here at Twin Creeks. Well, the final group making their way up the 18th. See young Hayden Hopewell with his father Hudson there joining the gallery. Yeah, a pretty good gallery it is. I think we'll see quite a few more spectators out here tomorrow following. You ever seen footage of the old British Open Championships when players hit into the 72nd hole, they hit their approach shots, they might have 150, 200 yards to the green and they've got to make their way through the gallery on the fairway. I mean, it takes 5 or 10 minutes to make their way through there. I remember footage of Greg Norman at Turnberry in '86. It was just absolutely phenomenal. It's a wonder he wasn't squashed. Oh, Tour Championship in Atlanta. That was phenomenal. Pretty relaxed looking Min Woo Lee there. I was asking Min Woo Lee the other day about his travel schedule at the beginning of the year. He turned professional 12 months ago, earned a card on the Corn Ferry Tour for this year. Then, at the beginning of the year, this year, was playing off invitations on the European Tour. And at that time, the tournaments were in Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Saudi Arabia. So he played those. He finished top 5 in Saudi Arabia. Then he flew to Panama, which is in Central America. I'm almost positive you can't get two countries further apart. He went and played in Panama. The following week, he was playing in Perth, his hometown, which again, that's about as far as it gets as well. So he had a very international schedule at the beginning of the year. But he established himself quite nicely in Europe this season. Okay, there is our updated leaderboard, which again, I'm not quite sure it's updated because I believe Josh Younger is 16 under par. But we know the top 3 are correct. Min Woo Lee is 18 under, Justin Warren 17, Travis Smythe, that birdie at the last, at 16 under par. Really, you've got to think the winner's going to come from the top 5.
Yeah, obviously Doty's at, we've got 14 on the screen, so that's only 4 back, which is still pretty close, especially after we saw the way he played yesterday. So it's going to be a fun Sunday.
AV Jennings designed communities where there's plenty of parks, pathways and playing fields for kids to have some fun. And it's not just kids. An active lifestyle is good for all of us. It's why thousands of people make their home in an AV Jennings community every year.
Well, only about 10 minutes of coverage to go. The final trio, they're on the 18th hole. Min Woo Lee, Josh Younger and Andrew Dote. Ooh, that's the ball of Min Woo Lee. He took an iron from the tee. This is a long way offline, James.
Yeah, it actually rolled over a cart, and the cart was moving away at the same time. So it'll be interesting to see if he didn't get a drop off the wood chips as the cart path or play as it is, because obviously that's going to make a massive difference.
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm of the belief that it's the integral part of the course. Well, we're getting word that he's entitled to relief from here. But you know what? He's chosen not to take it, which is interesting. So you've got to think that he has a pretty decent lie.
Yeah, so obviously he's going to back himself that he can make clean contact, and it doesn't look like it's a fair bit of loft there.
Well, he certainly knows better than what we do sitting here, but it'll be an interesting shot coming up from Min Woo Lee. Now Younger with his second.
Got about 170-ish. So there's not much wind here, so it's just going to depend on how quickly he thinks he can stop it.
Unique golf swing, Josh Younger. Very low hands at the top. Oh, get over there. Oh. Stay up. No, that's going to go back down the tier. If that was another 3 or 4 feet, it could have ended up 3 or 4 foot from the hole.
It makes his putt. It's now 3 times as long as what it could have been, but obviously you know that's what's up there, and he's probably hit a very good shot. It's just hasn't gotten the bounce he thought it might have.
Okay, Minwoo Lee. Well, that does look like a pretty clean lie, doesn't it? What do you got to do here to hit it cleanly?
Ball first.
Ball back in your stance?
A little bit back, yeah.
Oh,
pretty good shot.
Well, he's playing a little army golf here at 18, right, left. But fairly straightforward bunker shot from there. Obviously, he's not going to be overly thrilled with that shot, but a player of his caliber should be able to get up and down. Hugo Boss, wouldn't that be a good sponsor to have? Might have to get some connections after the round. I need a good suit. Well, the last player, Andrew Dote, he took a driver off the tee. A little more aggressive, and he's been rewarded for a good tee shot. Just in the left rough, but only a wedge in hand. Higher ball flight. Looks like it's on a good line. Has it got to sit down?
Good shot.
No, great shot. Right where we saw Travis Smythe hold his birdie putt from.
He's obviously rolling it pretty good this week as well, so you back him to hold up. That was probably the best birdie putt you can have from that distance on the last hole.
Well, I think Andrew Dote, especially if he can make that one, he's going to walk away from this, depending on whether Minwoo Lee gets up and down. Looks like Andrew Dote's going to be maybe 3 strokes behind going into the final round tomorrow, but he would probably take a positive out of this, knowing that this is his bad round. He's gotten the bad round out of the way. Tomorrow you go back out there and, well, he's shown that he's capable of shooting a very low one.
Plus, like you spoke about before, it is when you have a day like he did yesterday, a lot of things do go right. So he's hanging pretty tough as well. So he makes that one, feels pretty confident, turns up tomorrow and goes after it.
Minwoo Lee playing off a sponsor's invitation this week, and he'll do so next week again at the Australian Open Championship. And with how far he hits the ball, got to think he's a good chance next week to factor at the Australian Open as well.
And we got paired with Spieth in round 3.
Yeah, that was 2017, I believe.
Yeah. Lapped it up that day as well. He absolutely had a ball. So, I think he would be confident next week. Playing at the Aussie Widget golf course, it does suit him.
I asked Michael Sim before about whether playing here at Twin Creeks is a good preparation for next week, and the more I think about it, the more it really is, isn't it? I mean, both are going to be firm conditions. Both visually, there's a little bit of room to hit it. Obviously, the Australians a little more difficult approach shots into the green, but not too dissimilar in that respect that it's the same style of golf.
And plus, especially if in contention, like you take a lot of confidence from that. So, I definitely, especially if you wanted anyone in the top 10, you're going to take confidence going into next week, and you'll be very happy with where the game's situated.
Third shot, Minwoo Lee. Pretty straightforward shot here.
Yeah, I think he gets this one up and down. Pretty soft.
Yeah, perhaps caught it a little bit heavy. Very interesting to note there how low he had his hands at address.
Yeah, well, obviously with the bunker play, lower the hands, the higher the ball, and the softer the ball's going to come out of the bunker. So
that's a good lesson for amateurs watching and anyone wanting to improve their bunker play. You have a look at someone like Seve back in the day, who was renowned as having the best or the greatest short game ever, really. He was a big proponent of getting the hands as low as he possibly could. Brett Rumford.
The sound of the bunker shots of Robbie hits. It's
it's impressive.
Perfection. So, yeah.
I played the final round of the 2003 Australian Masters at Huntingdale with Brett Rumford one year. He hit 6 greens in regulation. Shot 69. It was absolutely phenomenal. He putted well, but I think he chipped in twice, holed a bunker shot. It was a clinic. Absolute clinic.
I caddied for Trav at the PGA, and Adam Scott was sitting down, legs crossed, behind Rumford chipping, and I was like, that's amazing.
That's amazing. Amazing how much you can learn just from being visual from that aspect, just watching it. Okay, tough putt up the hill for Josh Younger for birdie at 18.
Good speed.
Yeah, pretty good putt. You know, we've seen about a dozen players putt from down there today, and that's about as close as we've seen anyone get.
Only one person got it past the hole, and that was Dane.
So it should be a par there at 18 for Josh Younger. Now, again, we have to clarify that score. I believe he is 16 under. Either way, he's in contention.
Yes, definitely.
Andrew Dote, even par for the day. He's got an opportunity here to shoot red numbers, get it to 15 under par. And with Minwoo Lee struggling to make par here at 18, could potentially see a two-shot swing and maybe only go into tomorrow 2 strokes behind.
Yeah, it's a very nice feeling. Sort of grinding the way through the day and then birdieing the last, and obviously that picks up potentially 2 shots. So
he's proven that he can win all over the world, Andrew Dote. 2-time winner on the European Tour. He's won 3 times on the Asian circuit. Get in. Yes, well done.
It's a great birdie.
Good stuff from Andrew Dote. 15 under par. So right now he's 3 strokes behind Minwoo Lee, who has 8 feet for par here to remain solo leader.
It's be a great par.
Well, he's made a bit of a mess at 18. This would be a confidence booster. Oh, that's a scrappy finish. An untidy finish to an otherwise fantastic round from Minwoo Lee. So he drops back to 17 under, just like Justin Warren did before him, bogey at 18. Boy, are we going to have an exciting day tomorrow on our hands here at Twin Creeks.
Just got very tight within about 15 minutes. Tiny 2-putt from Josh.
Well, you're going to have 5 players within 2 strokes of the lead tomorrow.
That's what you want.
It is going to be a real shootout here in Western Sydney. Wow, James, wow. It was quite a fascinating day, really, but especially right there at the end. It's just, as I mentioned, 5 players now within 2 strokes of the lead going into tomorrow. It really is anyone's tournament, right?
Yeah, it's got really tight. And I think, well, especially the 5 guys will all think they've got a great chance of winning. So it'll be good to see, you know, what they all bring to the table tomorrow. And
well, out of those 5 players, you've got Minwoo Lee, Justin Warren. They haven't won yet. Travis Smythe won back in 2017, but he was an amateur then.
Yep.
Minwoo Lee, I mentioned, hasn't won. Josh Younger has had 3 runner-ups on tour, has never won. Andrew Dote, he's the experienced man. Even though he's 2 strokes behind, for me, he's the one to look out for tomorrow.
Yeah, and obviously he's coming from a little bit further back as well, so he's not going to be in the last group. So he can sort of, you know, by the end, as we saw, he'll be 1 hole ahead, so he can post a score and see what the other guys can come and chase him down.
Well, we had plenty of highlights out there today. Let's take a look at some of the action that we saw earlier on. This was Dimi Papadatos. Birdie opportunity at 18. Just missing on the low side. Tapping it in with the toe of the putter. Those 2 rounds very confidently. This was Christopher Wood for a birdie at 17. Another one agonisingly close.
Dane Lawson. As we said, the only player to get it past the flag from down the bottom, just narrowly missed.
Tough year in Europe, Ian Lawson. Now, Jake Higginbottom narrowly avoided the water at 18. Great chip to there, even better putt. He's at 11 under par. 6 behind. He's going to need a low one tomorrow. Josh Younger at 17. That was a pretty classy tee shot. It wasn't the best one we saw there today.
No, it wasn't. Had to be outdone, didn't he?
Andrew Dote is 2 at 17.
Pretty tidy shot there as well.
Travis Smythe. He came to the 18th, 15 under par. Hit a beautiful tee shot. A classic second shot as well. That 12, 15 feet from the hole.
Which he obviously converted.
Speaking of converting, Josh Younger at 17. Just enough juice on it. He gets a birdie. He's at 16 under par. Andrew Doak cleaning up for a par there at 17.
To the putt of Travs.
You mentioned he converted there, Travis Smythe. That was that birdie putt to get to 16 under par, round of 66. The big Trav. Justin Warren was 9 under par for the round, coming to 18. Just caught a flyer with his second, unable to get up and down, but he'll go into Sunday with a share of the lead. This was Minwoo Lee's tee shot at 18. I think that's easy to do at 18 because you've got to turn it over. He's obviously trying to hit a low draw around the corner there.
Yep.
Just got ahead of it.
And especially with the way that the right side of the fairway works, it kicks off. If it's not on the fairway, it'll kick further right. So
now that
fires it a bit.
That ball ended up underneath that cart. That would have been a very difficult shot if you couldn't move the cart. But of course he was able to. Now Andrew Dote, he took driver at 18, a little more aggressive.
Certainly paid off.
Yeah, rewarded by hitting a very good second shot in there. Josh Younger, he had a tough putt up the tier here for a birdie, coming off that birdie at 17. And certainly one of the better lags we saw from down the bottom. All right, Andrew Dote, birdie at 18. What a finish.
It's a great finish to the day.
Well, this was the shot of the day, James. Aaron Townsend, 17th hole, early part of our coverage. You called it earlier today that we would see that. Hole in one.
Ecstatic. Who was more ecstatic, you or Andrew? Aaron, sorry.
I definitely think I was more excited than Aaron, but really good to see. Okay, so there is our updated leaderboard at the end of round 3. Justin Warren, Minwoo Lee, 17 under par, 1 stroke ahead of Travis Smythe. Andrew Dote, Josh Younger there, 15 under par. As we said, 5 players within 2 strokes of the lead.
It's going to be exciting.
Certainly is. Nick Cullen there at 9 under par. Jamie Arnold's been a great fight back from boy from Cronulla this week. He's at 8 under in a share of 12th. Michael Sim. All of these players, 9 shots behind. Andrew Dote's course record of 61, I believe, will have to get broken tomorrow if any of them are to give it a shot.
Yeah, and that would mean that leaders would have to shoot, no better than 3 or 4 under. So
Elvis Smiley, the leading amateur, the Australian junior champion. Great performance from him so far. 17 years old from the Gold Coast. He's at 6 under par. Mentioned Aaron Townsend before, 6 under par. We had Matthew Miller in today. He's at 5 under par. Steve Allen, former Australian Open champion, there at 5 under. We saw Mark Hensby in our coverage, former President's Cup player. He's at 4 under par.
The Irishman Conor Purcell, Australian amateur champion, here next week as well.
Tough day for Cameron John. 4 over par today. Runner-up here last year, Callan O'Reilly. Daniel Gale hails from out this way.
A couple amateurs there. Lucas Higgins, New South Wales State team, Connor McKinney from Perth, and Nathan Barbieri. Sadly didn't have the best day. But I feel like these boys will fire up tomorrow and see what happens with the low amateur.
Yeah, good to see Nathan Green playing this week. He was a winner at the Canadian Open back in 2009.
Obviously the mentor to young Jake, who Monday qualified, which was awesome to see.
14-year-old, yeah, absolutely.
I certainly wasn't doing that at 14.
No, I don't think many of us were. Well, it's been an exciting day's action here at Twin Creeks Golf and Country Club, round 3 of the AV Jennings New South Wales Open Championship. And James, thank you very much for joining us today. And on behalf of James and myself, join us tomorrow, final round action at 1 o'clock Eastern time here in Sydney. But it's going to be an exciting shootout. 5 players within 2 strokes of the lead. One thing's for sure, we are going to see plenty of exciting action here tomorrow. So look out for some quality golf.